meeting to order, please, for Tuesday, okay, I'm sorry, for Thursday, March 5th, 2020. Could we have the vote? Oh, before we get started though, please, just a moment, because I know so many of us know friends or family or whoever who may have been affected by this terrible tornado. And we just want to take a moment to extend our heartfelt encouragement to everybody. It's such a tough time. And just from the city, all of the city council in Carthage, we want to know that we're here for you if we can be of help in any way. Could you call the roll, please?
Sure. Vice Mayor Watts, Councilwoman Knappel,
Here.
Councilwoman Scott, Councilman Evil,
Yep.
Councilman Petty,
Here.
Councilman Reed,
Here.
City Attorney Moore.
Here.
Okay, thank you. We have minutes from February 6th council meeting and the February 20th special call council meeting. Were sent to y'all. Did you all have a chance to read? Do you have any questions? Do I hear a motion to approve these?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. We have bills over 2,000 for consideration. There's 4 of them. Would you like to take them together or all at once, individually? How would you like to do that? Did they get copies already?
No, Julie said we just bring them in here.
Okay. You want to take them one at a time then? How would you prefer to do that? We have copies here.
I'll motion we just take them all together.
Okay. So is that a motion to approve?
Motion to approve them all together.
Okay,
Second.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Okay, the next order of business. Do we have any citizens' concerns reports tonight? Any citizens who want to speak to any issues of concern or praise or whatever? This is your opportunity to do that at the beginning of each meeting. Okay. Then the next item is the mayor's report. The one thing, and I do want to report that I know several places around town are taking donations to help the victims. There will be a huge truckload of supplies and food coming in Friday to the Church of God, I believe it is, over in South Carthage on the road there. And they've said that anybody who needs food or supplies, diapers, anything that you might need to help the victims, they'll have that there. And we appreciate everything everybody's doing to help around here. I do want to report the Market Fest is moving forward for April 4th, which is a Saturday from 9 to 3. The committee is doing a really great job working on this. The place is already marked out there around the track. It's going to be again at the walking track across from the city park at swimming pool, and we really appreciate the hard work that our committee is doing on that. The Vol State, we are moving forward to try to get those classes this fall at the Chamber of Commerce, and we're had a last committee meeting and everything is in place to go forward with. The technology is going to be there. This will be a chance for graduates to be able to take some classes here with the Zoom room without having to drive to Gallatin. It'll also be a way for adults who maybe started their associate's degree but didn't finish to come back and finish that through what's called the Reconnect program. So a lot of your tuition will be free for that. So it's a great opportunity to check into. We've had some great meetings with the MTAS finance person today who's helping us move our budget forward. We also have the CPA who's coming in to do some help with that. The supervisors have done a great job of looking over their budgets, and pretty soon we'll have all of those ready to go to the budget for y'all to take a look at. So that's moving forward. Dr. Duke had asked for just a moment to kind of address something you may have already heard about. Dr. Duke is our city health official. Yes, that's what it's called. That's what officer, city health officer, excuse me.
Yeah.
So would you like to address what you
Yeah,
mentioned earlier?
just briefly, just going to touch on the coronavirus, COVID-19.
As of today, was the first case that came, that tested positive in Tennessee in Williamson County. It was a 44-year-old gentleman that had made a trip to Boston, had not been to outside the United States, but he came up positive. And then later today, we found out that there was a student at Vanderbilt that had tested positive. Now, that student is not in Tennessee now. He's at his home and he's being isolated there, but he was tested positive. And of course, the incubation phase for this is about 7 to 10 days, so people can have it and spread it before they even know they've got it.
But he had been studying abroad too.
He had been studying abroad, that's exactly right, that's exactly right. And that's where they think maybe that he may have gotten it. So just wanted to let everybody know that actually we're monitoring this. I was on a call with the Tennessee Department of Public Health this morning, and so we're kind of monitoring that as a city. And that's part of my job as public health officer, to monitor that for our city. Tennessee was one of 5 states that got advanced testing kits. So actually, and we have a task force now too, the state of Tennessee does. And so all of this is being filtered down through the Tennessee Department of Public Health and our county. I was in touch with our county health department today too. So we're going to coordinate with all of those. It wasn't really a big thing until we had a positive in Tennessee. And so I think, you might think, well, this is Carthage, it's a small town, but small towns, we're involved as well. So I just wanted to let everybody know that we're monitoring
To
this.
put sort of a helpful twist, what do we need besides washing hands to have, what are the good points about
The
this?
general public is just really at a low risk. About 80 to 85% of the people that catch this, if you're a healthy individual, it's just going to be like flu-like symptoms and you can get over it. That doesn't mean that you can't spread it to somebody else, though. It's usually the infirmed, the older people, the people that are infirmed, that have immunodeficiency diseases or immunodeficiency conditions. Small children that catch it those are the people that usually that can die from it. It turns into a respiratory syndrome that they can die from. So it's basically just the things that we need to be doing anyway, especially with flu season, and I've shook a lot of people's hands tonight, and I'm going, after I did, I'm going to warn people not to do that. We just don't need to be shaking hands. You need to just hand washing. Hand washing is so important. Not touching your face. If you sneeze or cough into your elbow or a tissue and throw it away. Just things that we should be doing just on a regular basis.
Are the schools doing anything to monitor this?
They're doing cleaning, just regular cleaning like they always did for, they were kind of doing that anyway for the flu.
Right.
The flu has been around. So I don't think that, as far as I know, I haven't been in touch with the school system yet. I've just gone through the health departments in the county and state health department.
Okay.
So there you go.
All right, thank you. So basic stuff, wash your hands, don't sneeze around other people or cough. Be aware of the space. Thank you so much, but it's very serious. So the next report is from our city attorney.
I don't have a formal report, but glad to answer any questions if anybody has any.
All right, from city recorder. Okay. Our police department, Mr. Chief
I do not
Davis.
have anything to report at this time.
Okay, great. Public Works, Mr.
I
Bishop.
have nothing, unless y'all got anything.
I got a few things for you.
Right to me?
All right, Bonnell said they donate basketball goal.
Okay.
Get hold of Bonnell,
Well,
can
no,
you?
I talked to Ron now. We've already called them. They're checking on the tubes, the poles.
The polls, yeah.
But so far they haven't found, because it's aluminum, they've got to have something a little stronger than that. But they're looking to see if they can find something.
Can we haul off that old basketball goal and chop off the bottom of it?
Well, I've got the,
You gotta keep the gold.
yeah, just pot, but the pipe off of it. Put it on another one.
Spring Street and Upper Ferry, Mountain in the middle of the road.
I got one bid in today, and I'm just getting another one.
Okay.
I have to pay.
Okay.
I don't wanna do it, cause our asphalt's not as good as
So we're gonna bid it out, okay,
That's a heavy travel spot right there.
okay.
You know, I got one bid in, I'm waiting for another one.
In the 3rd Avenue West, right there next to Rojas, it's not, there's just several calls on that one too.
Well, I filled them holes in there.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something we wanna put a little bit more into or something, I don't know.
It needs to be paved right there, what it needs.
Yeah, so, just those are the 3 things I
There'll be
was
trucks
asked to bring up to
out there
you.
from calls, don't help nothing right there.
No, it don't.
No, it don't. Yeah. But, yeah, just, those are the things that people were asking me about, so, thank
The
you.
list.
Thank you. We have water sewer report. Mr. Dare.
I don't have anything to report unless y'all have any questions.
Water tank, Mr. Rusty.
We don't have anything new this month unless y'all got questions for me.
Okay. All right, our wastewater plant. Mr. Ricky.
We just got one here on that bill that y'all okayed, the one over 2,000. It was it was a maintenance fee from TDEC, and we was gonna move, from our budget, $800 from the operating supplies into the membership and dues fees to take care of that, because we was gonna come up 800 short in that line item.
Does anybody have a problem with that?
Any questions?
Just moving
Just
within their
move a
budget?
little money around.
Okay, thank you. Chief Hyde, Fire Department.
Yes, ma'am. Y'all have our monthly report. Also, hope we have an annual report. Hope y'all take time to read it. These are the first 3 pages there. The back part is
Second to last page.
and I'll address later our issues with engine 1 and 5. I will let y'all know I'm looking at pricing now for repairs at the fire station. We got half a dozen leaks. So just make y'all aware of that. We'll get back to the engine a little later on. Thank you. If you've got questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The grant reports, we have, our grant writers weren't able to come, but they have sent some things here, so let me just quickly, as far as the facade update, that would be Ms. Alexander, Virginia. Most of these things, I won't read every one individually, but it's completed facade work at the Iber. Waiting for the doors to arrive. The Wilkerson project, Mr. Larry Wilkerson, they've signed up for Gene Reed to paint this project as soon as the weather permits. The Holloman project, bids have been received for the facade work on the building. Recommendation for awards been sent to the state office. The Beller project, the bid for award was given to Garber Builders. Contracts have been signed. Main Street, the Adair project, facade work has been approved. And mainly, we're going forward with most of these things, and next week we'll be signing some contracts to start the awnings for most of these buildings. I think that all of them now have been approved, and then we're gonna go forward, so that's gonna look pretty nice downtown. So, the rails to trails for our walking trail. He says some subcontracts for engineering services and grant administration have been executed. Of course, Mid-10 is doing this. The town has posted all the required grant signage. We had to put, if you notice those nice red boxes that Mr. Chaz built for us out there, that's all the signs that we have to post for TDEC for that to take place. Then we have Evan White, who is looking into our walking track. And he's also had projections for our fire hall. Remember, we asked him to bring it back. He's apologies, they had a conflict tonight, but he said for the fire hall project, the cost estimates and with several contractors, it seems that one estimate would be that a 3-bay, 48 by 51 chief building would cost $120 to $125. This would include the building, concrete pad, footings, plumbing, electrical, gas, site excavation, stormwater diversion, and paving. That's a turnkey price estimate. Then a 2-bay 48 or 34 would cost approximately $100,000 with the same other things added. So that's his cost estimate for right now, but it's just an estimate. He'll, as we get farther into this, we'll of course, we'd have to bid this out. But that's kind of what he's giving us, and that would be the whole, everything together. Okay. So that's from those folks. We are moving forward with the Turkey Creek water tank. I've got, in fact, the engineers sending bids out this week to the courier of the bid notice, so we'll have the bids. I think it's March 31st. He put as a final bid date, and we'll have the bid openings here at City Hall, and then determine who's going to do the construction on the water tank out on Turkey Creek. Okay, so then we move into unfinished. Any questions about any of that? Okay, that's just, unfortunately, they all had pre-plans for tonight. Under the unfinished business, the first item here is the Oversight Committees.
Before we're starting that, I'd like to make a motion that we move number 5 charter amendments to number 2, just to get that knocked out.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion of that? Okay. All in favor of moving it for charter amendments?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any
Okay.
opposed?
Do you want that on?
Yeah, you can turn that on. I don't know if that's gonna hit her in the face or not.
What do we do? This is the Oversight.
Y'all talk about
Yeah,
that, or-
I'm gonna use this for.
Okay. We ain't done anything.
Okay. All right, so this is Mr. Eagle's presentation.
Whenever it pops up. But, and I'm not trying to spend forever on this. I think a couple of them we can get knocked out now. Some of them are just for ideas down the road. Because there are some of them are not as urgent as others. But, and I'm sure y'all got the email. I don't know who all read it or not. I don't know if you can see that or not either. All being said, basically, I remember when I first came into this job, we had a whole list on like our website of just oversight committees that we had, just things that we monitored, put a little bit more detail into, was able to pass those recommendations forward to the council, and then it allowed us to speed up our process as council goes. I think most of these things are something that we could do biannually, just meet every 6 months or so. The two that I would say are kind of more important would be the budget and finance. If we had a budget and finance oversight committee, that would be something that would be just a seasonal oversight between February and May, being able to really examine and look over our budget and instead of just rolling through it real fast. And I don't think that's something that would need to be constantly moved back and forth. Oh, you can see it better now. The other one that just seemed like we really needed to do was basically personnel and ethics oversight committee, basically just creating policies and procedures, ethics guidelines, things like that, something that our ethics officer can work with just to show, our personnel, different lanes. This is your lane, this is your lane, this is your lane. That way people aren't overlapping and stepping on each other's toes, and they know what their job descriptions are. They know what their rights are, things like that. So those are the two ones that I'd like to maybe discuss in a little bit more detail tonight. The other ones I think we can, we can talk about down the road. I just wanted to plant a seed on it. Was the Facade Improvement Committee, and this is going on. It would be nice if we, whoever's chairing that committee gave a report to us if we're going to have that committee. Fire and Police Oversight Committee, things that are coming up like fire bays, making sure that we're being able to help out with areas in that, and we're a little bit more in tune with those two. Water and Sewer Committee, make sure that we're looking down the road for things, not just reactive but being proactive on areas. Parks and Rec committees, we've got a lot of upcoming projects such as the dog park, things like that can be presented to those committees before they come to the council, just to really vet out some questions that we can know that those have already been answered. And then Roads and Public Works Committee, updates on streets and different projects such as that grant. So this was kind of like a counter just to say, I know it seems like a lot, so I wanted to just, and it's an idea, basically where you'd be looking at, we take out no meetings in June, we don't need to have any meetings in December. Have like a vacation month, and then you'd be looking at, like I said again, just biannually, and the only part you'd see a little bit more of would be February through May as far as the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. But anyhow, that was all I wanted to bring up. I think it would be nice if we could work to establish, and I'm not sure the decorum for establishing a Budget and Finance Committee and a Personnel and Ethics Committee tonight, but I think it would be in the best interest of the city to do that. The other thing I felt like it would be nice if we spread it out among council members, at least have one council member spread out on one of these committees, and then that way the city's being represented on that aspect, but we include the public on these other aspects. So just want to open up for discussion, pros and cons on this.
I think some of our supervisors might want to address it. I will point out, we do have a personnel policy that covers a lot of what you're referring to in here as far as procedure. It's already pretty much outlined in there. There is a Parks and Recreation Committee, an active one, that's doing the Market Fest and all kinds of things. I think as far as the oversight for the various departments, though, we need to hear from our department supervisors to get their input.
The definition of oversight is oversight, not saying that it's not established inside the government, but oversight, having a check and a balance. That's the purpose of it, to make sure things are vetted. They're not just we're not just taking one person's word for it, but someone else is looking at it twice. That's the purpose of these committees, to give recommendations, to look in more detail. Because obviously, if I'm heading a department, I'm going to try to get as much as I can in my department. Obviously, I'm going to be frugal about some things, but some other things I might not be. And that oversight is just a check and a balance, just to make sure, they really do need that. Or, I think we could probably save taxpayer money this month. Maybe we can plan for this in next year or whatever. That's what I'm getting at.
So how would that be different from the oversight that you as a council present?
It would be working similarly to, in the Tennessee House, they don't just present bills, they go through committees. And the committees examine the bills that go through and say, is this something worth sending up to for everyone to look for, or are there flaws in this? That would be essentially what we'd be looking at. This is, you can ask Mr. Jacob, he'd probably tell you that this is done in certain cities where they are looking at items before and giving recommendations. Just as the plan, to give you an example, like the Planning Commission, things come before the Planning Commission, and recommendations are given from the Planning Commission to the council, so that the council doesn't have to go and necessarily do all the legwork on it. The Planning Commission has already done the legwork.
That's set up by state statute, but that's a little different from a committee, oversight committee.
I know in the past, our committees, the few committees that we have like a personnel committee, a police committee, and Parks and Rec. Is that the only three? That's the only three I can remember.
Planning and
I
zoning.
think y'all had a,
Well, it was
That's
just,
not,
it was like just,
yeah, committee.
just the ones that we had here, but they were just made up of like, what, 3 council members for each one? And the way I view it is just like, we were elected, and so we should, like Mayor Smith said, have the oversight of it. Now, I'm not opposed to having, like what we had, necessarily like a police committee, made up of 2 or 3 members or whatever, but we basically would, I don't even know that we met really that much. I think
It was as
Police
necessary.
committee, we met as when we needed it, if we were hiring somebody or if we were firing
Right.
somebody and we did recommendations.
I know we had a personnel committee, and we would review the applications, and then the personnel committee would,
okay.
So
more of a as needed basis,
Exactly.
as opposed to a scheduled basis.
More of an advisory committee rather than oversight. Because
Okay.
there's no true power. They could just make a recommendation to the council.
Yes, and I don't think that this is anything that we want to add teeth to at all. I think it's something that's just a recommendation, and and as needed is good. It just has something like if we're hiring a position, right? That personnel committee can look
Right.
at it as opposed to just a department going and looking at it. It can go through that personnel just to make sure we're crossing our T's, dotting our I's.
Chief Davis, when this was in existence, how did that work for y'all, and what did,
I mean, it's not that it didn't work bad. It was just, I would essentially do the same thing that I would bring to the full council. It was the same
so it
thing.
was kind of redundant in a way?
It just took a little extra time. Obviously, that was to the city's pleasure if that's what they wanted to do, but it was essentially the same thing. I don't think I ever actually took anything, a recommendation to the police committee, and it'd be different as opposed to when we actually brought it to the full
Right.
council.
I think about the only thing we really
I
just.
can, this last hire we had, if we would have had a police committee at that time, I would never be able to get a police committee meeting set up and then actually hired him. This last one, it would actually I'd have had to wait until this meeting to actually hire someone.
Right.
So just,
So I feel like we put the committee together when we appointed you chief, like when we were going through all that, and then I think we were talking about cars. I had a big discussion about, we're going to go SUVs or whatever, and I think it was just little things that we just kind of ironed
yeah,
out
we hardly ever had a police
before.
committee. As far as if it was in reference to any kind of issues with the department, I always investigated it and I would report back to the mayor or the council if needed.
Mm-hmm.
So,
In
if
the-
it was something.
In the area like our sewer or our water,
I guess the only place I'm kind of confused is at the sewer plant. I kind of look at it as the state is our oversight, because if we're not doing our job, we'll know about it. But as far as the purchasing, we usually have to bring everything before the council or to the mayor. The only place I really say that if it had something to do with personnel, not so much of the operation itself, but I don't see, every time we need something, we come to the council with it, so we get it approved, I guess is what I'm saying.
So sewer and water wouldn't be one that would really even be necessary. It'd just be more redundant.
It
So I guess
sounds,
that's what I'm kind of getting at there.
sounds to me like the main thing we need is an oversight committee for personnel hiring, firing, and treatment in the workplace, which
Yeah.
can handle all of the departments.
Okay. And I would agree with that, and that could eliminate a lot.
and I think that's already in the personnel policy. Have y'all had a chance to see the copy? You need a copy of that?
Who is on the oversight committee?
No, I mean, there's a policy, a full policy of all personnel involvement. I'll be glad if y'all don't have a copy.
It's not about the policy, it's about how it's being carried out. That's what oversight committee, in my opinion, does. So,
Well, there are provisions for oversight in there, that's what I'm saying.
okay.
I'll be glad to get you a copy if y'all want to have one.
I've
Might
got
be a
no
good
paperwork
idea.
right now.
And there's, it's one of the things that's in our duties as council. We have that power to create committees to do that. I would agree with Sam that, I think we could, as far as personnel, we could put everything under one on that aspect. We don't need to do all the other ones. I would say, since you're saying we already have a Parks and Rec committee, I think it would be great to know when those meetings are and get reports of those meetings and get minutes of those meetings, have those emailed out. That way we don't hear about it from so-and-so else. We would like to be able to be involved in that.
Right now, they're working on the market test. That whole committee, that's what they're working on. So the next meeting will be Monday night, and you're more than welcome to come. It's open to anyone who wants to be there.
Again, what I'm asking is,
It's not-
Market Fest is
it's-
Market Fest will be one event, but we've got plans. We've got a dog park coming in that we're working on, making sure that all the details are crossed off on that dog park, so that it's
But that goes to the planning commission. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying. That is the oversight for anything like that.
it's. I don't know if I'm saying this right.
I think the council needs to know what these committees are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have
We-
no information about.
Well, the only thing the Parks and Rec is doing right now is the market test, and you're more than welcome to come.
Can we
They
get?
don't have formal meetings because there's not enough right now formally, except for the Parks for the market test.
In the
dog-
past, they've done planning, future planning for the
Okay.
city.
Okay, that's wonderful.
We have had that.
Sort of goes hand in hand with the planning commission, so that's wonderful. We can do
It's different from the planning
it's,
commission.
that.
yeah, this would be something that is, you know,
We
let's
brought
say.
in some of the young people and kind of got a vision of what we'd like to see in the
Well,
future.
we can add that to the market fest and everything else they're doing, that'd be great.
So, so the Parks and Rec personnel, I think that we would say, we don't need to do anything for the sewer or the water plant. I think that,
police.
or
The
police.
facade committee, when that's done, it's done.
Yeah, and that's
It's more
overseen
of
by
a
Main
grant.
Street.
That's
City.
all.
Yeah.
That's-
And I feel like the facade can fall under,
You got it up there though.
yeah, why that doesn't fall under Parks and Rec, you know, because it's kind of beautification. That
Because
would,
it's a
It was a
national
grant.
program and through a grant.
Okay.
And it's very highly regulated, and the last thing we need to do is try to jump in the middle of it and try to tell them how to do it.
They tell us how to do it.
okay, gotcha. So that's just kind of a in and out, that'll be done.
Unless there's another grant.
That's another grant. So fire and police wouldn't need that. Roads and public works, would that fall more under planning?
Their brick and mortar, so to speak, would be covered under planning, their personnel would be covered under the personnel, so
Okay.
it's covered.
Okay, so we don't need that. And I figure that, I mean, the last one there is the budget and finance one. And this is one I'd really love to be a part of. Like, I would love to work with a lot of these numbers. I'd love to get involved with a lot of these departments, and I feel like it'd be good, we all get involved, would be good on that one. And that's one that, you know, just would be seasonal. It doesn't
Mayor,
need
didn't you say that we've got a CPA that's gonna be working with us, helping develop it? Is he gonna do a committee or anything to work with him, or is
Right
he?
now, he's just trying to get the budget in line to help. We had Mr. Ralph Cross who teaches all the CMFOs, has been kind enough to step up and help us work on the budget, because there's some things that had to be done to be tweaked to it, to be right. And the CPA had to pull up volumes of material to get to him, so that's kind of where they are right now. The supervisors, of course, who know what they need more than anybody, certainly more than I do, have been working on their budgets and what they need to add or take away, and they're trying their best to keep it within what we spent last year. They're doing a great job on that. So once all that comes together, that will certainly come to y'all to scrutinize in any way you want. As we've said before, I think the departments just need their own space to get their budgets together. Then it can be looked at by everybody else.
No, I understand that. I brought this up in January, and that was the request then. Brought this up last month, that was the request then. It's March now, and we're voting on this here in a couple of months. I'd like to get involved in the budget right now. I want to be able to look at things. I want everyone to be able to have time to look at the pros and the cons. We've got a lot of great opportunities as a city to get some stuff done. We're obviously in a good financial position. There's some places where we might be able to spend some money. There's some places where we might be able to get some tax breaks. There's some places where we can all work together, and I feel like the more time we have to work together, the more we're communicating and the easier things will go. And so I do feel like it would be very beneficial to get us involved. I'm not sure, I understand that they are working on their numbers, but we're voting on these numbers. And so the more I can be involved in why they're working in them, the more everyone else can be involved, the better for everyone. Because this isn't my money, this is taxpayers' money. This isn't your money, this is taxpayer money, this is none of our money.
But I think we're saying the same thing, because once they get their numbers together, they certainly will have several meetings for you to look at this.
And that's what I would say what I would like to do is, based on our discussions tonight, I think we need to go ahead and establish a personnel and policy committee, a Parks and Recs committee, which apparently is already established, but let's get some of our council members on there.
Well, the only thing is we're trying to put one council member on each, so if we need to meet, it doesn't have to always be a publicly declared meeting. But you can do it another way if you want.
It doesn't matter to me how we do it. You guys have said you used to do 3 at a time. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it needs to be made up of council members. I don't think we need to have, especially with the personnel, I think it needs to be council members only.
Well, we're gonna be looking at budget workshops, so do we need a committee in addition to the regular increased budget workshops that we do prior to?
I mean, I think we're starting to get a lot of redundancy on everything.
Exactly, that's what I'm asking. I mean, we do increase our meetings around budget time already.
And two, I mean, I see what you're saying about
Not opposed.
about the budgets and wanting to be involved, but we have to trust that they're doing the right thing too. I mean, that's what we've told them.
We
We stand
don't
by
need to
them
be
and tell them what, we would stand by them, and then we let them decide what they want, and then we can go through and cut and decide, and not be there on the front end and cutting and questioning everything. It only draws it out longer.
It's not about, to me, and I understand. I'm not saying anything against what you're saying there. To me, it's when we're talking about these large amounts of money happening that quickly. Like, what is this line item? What's it used for in detail? And then we have that all together where you all might, there's a lot I'm still learning. I would like to know. I would like to know what this line item is. What happens with this line item? Why do we have this increased budget? How come we never hit that number? Is this here for emergencies? There's a lot of things you all explained to me last budget that I didn't know. But I'd like to have some time to go in the nitty gritty, because last time I felt like we went through a meeting in 2.5 hours and that was our whole budget.
Last budget cycle was a mess anyway, because we were late on everything. I think it was even late getting turned into the state. I mean, so this year I would imagine it would be quite a bit better.
So are you asking when will we have the supervisors' budgets?
Yeah, like if the supervisors are having their budget meetings, I mean, I like to attend and just listen and maybe just ask some questions. And it's not a decision-making process; it's just a learning experience where we can learn more about it and might vote for something more, or maybe are we doing this because we've always done this?
Could we compromise by letting them go ahead and, because they've got the budgets ready to send to our person who's working with them to look at those numbers. Once that's done, could we compromise by then saying, you can ask all the questions you want once we get that on paper, what they're really asking for?
Or divide it up, like let's say, we work on just a couple sections of the budget, so we can go into more detail on those couple sections. That way we're not here all night, because none of us want to be here all night. And just say we can go into a lot more detail on those couple sections. And then the next budget meeting we go in detail those couple sections. And then we got it all ready to go together with everything we want to propose, move it forward, vote on it, go, and move out.
Would imagine that we would probably have budgets by April. Rough draft of budgets by April, possibly.
Sure, yes.
And when are we voting on them?
It's not, we don't have to have them in
June. Mid-June. Like we always have like a last minute meeting right before the budget ends.
That should give us plenty of time to go through that.
I think if we knew what it was, it would give us plenty of time to look over it and talk about it and decide whatever we want. That way we're not.
And I'm sure that as well, they're taking their time to be sure they have everything the way it needs to be.
They're very serious about what they're doing. Yes.
Oh, I'm not denying that. Again, it's.
Well, last year, our budget was figured, we thought we were having a $400,000 shortfall, and we cut to the bone. I know about every department, we're right now wondering if we're gonna make it on our electric bill to June. But we're still trying for this next year to come up with that same budget. We're not adding to it, we're trying to move line item a little bit here or there, fine tune it. But we cut to the bone last year.
That's a good point.
So what I bring, you're welcome to look at it, and in the process, right now, we're looking at maybe going from chlorine to bleach. Costs us a little on the front end, it's gonna save a ton of money on the far end, but that's things that we will be bringing in as we go. But, I guess it comes down to us, you're welcome to look at anything, but the bottom line, you gotta trust us that we know we're trying to save you every penny we can, but we gotta operate.
It's not about trust, it's about checks and balances. It has to do just as your job to put that budget together, it's my job to vote on that budget.
Well, if they bring that to you though in April, you'll have time to look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year, I didn't feel like I had that time.
Well, we didn't.
We didn't last time, but we're under a different set of circumstances.
Okay.
The departments have done a very good job of, I thought they did a good job last year, even though it was at the last minute of getting it put together. But now we'll have plenty of time to go through it.
Okay, yeah, and I just want to make sure, my other concern was I got a request in just for a simple revenue, like sales tax revenues, and they could not provide, they didn't know how to provide sales tax revenue request to me. Like, I just wanted to get a year to year, you know, what was our 17-18 sales tax revenue, what was our 18-19. You all will not be able to provide that. And that's my concern right now, is we're going to run into it again. And so I'm just trying to be proactive on this, instead of we come up in April and say, well, we had a problem, we weren't able to hire the CPA. Now we're in May. Oh, well, we're rushing, we just need to get this passed, and then in June we pass it. And that's what I'm worried. So I'm just trying to be proactive here.
Yeah, we had something that showed sales tax.
We did. We sent it out to y'all at some point.
So I don't know why we're going to do all this.
Yeah, why are we going to all of it?
Because I put a records request in asking for the sales tax revenues to date, and I did not get it.
You might not get right on the spot, but you had one from what, last
Yeah,
month, I believe?
Yeah, we've sent this out periodically, so.
Let's finish this one item.
Okay,
and get done.
is there any other discussion or debate or whatever about this?
All right, so I guess the motion on the table would stand as establishing a personnel committee, personnel policy and procedures committee, and a Parks and Rec committee, and put council members on it. And we don't have to decide who the council members are tonight, but we need to establish it.
So, let me ask you, we have 8 people already on the Parks and Rec committee who are citizens. Are we just gonna kick them off, or what are we gonna do?
It was my understanding I was on Parks and Rec.
You are?
So we already have that.
Yeah, we were thinking of
Sounds
putting
redundant.
Yeah.
at least one representative, like Bill was the representative on the Facade. Yes, sir.
I looked in the ordinance just briefly, and I don't, do you know how that committee was created? Whether it was by motion or resolution?
Parks
Parks and
and,
Rec.
I don't know, it's just something that was there, and so we put together citizens mainly to help with the Market Fest that we're doing.
It initially came about because we had some grants, or we're looking at some grants to do some expansions at the park. And so I'm assuming it was appointed by the mayor, but I don't
It was
remember.
appointed by the mayor as one of the requirements in
Yes.
order to apply for one of the grants.
Committee,
Yeah.
okay.
So Sam's already on
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Recs, okay.
Bill was on Facade, and we were trying to, because we are a body here, we're trying to get more citizens involved, and that was part of the idea, to put as many citizens on these committees as possible, because that's what we've all been saying, we want more citizen involvement. So that was all citizens, except for the
Yeah, because I learned from them. I mean,
Facade required
Yeah,
some
you had to.
citizens.
Yeah,
Okay.
we had to. I mean, some of these grants.
the historical people that were there.
Yeah.
So if it's already in existence, I can withdraw that part of the motion. So I guess the motion, just to reiterate, would be establishment of a personnel policy and procedures committee.
May I also suggest, we do have a policy there. I would like for you to see it, whoever's gonna do this, because it was voted on by the council a few years ago, and it's quite extensive.
And there may be some privacy issues if something comes up that a public individual cannot have access to the full records.
Yes, sir.
Well, so what I might suggest, Cole, is that if you want to move forward with creating that, maybe be prepared for next month to say, okay, we're going to create this committee, here's what they're going to do, here's how they're going to be appointed, particularly with personnel, because I do think you want to say, this is what we're asking you as a personnel committee to do, because you don't want to just create a committee and then, and the first order of business might be to have them review the personnel policy, make recommendations back to you as far as amendments and if any are needed.
I know what we've done in the past is the entire council would meet, and we've had workshops where we go through that personnel policy and make any changes. So we have been doing that just as a whole council.
But I do think before you create any committee, you want to kind of nail down, okay, how many people we're going to have, how are they going to be appointed, and what are they tasked with doing. And you've got a lot of flexibility as far as long as they're advisory to you and all they're doing is making recommendations and not doing anything else, you've got flexibility. once you step beyond that, particularly with personnel, if you start giving them any responsibilities, you have to be very careful with that.
Well, it's my understanding that we, the council, are the personnel committee.
That's how it's been up to
Yep.
now.
So if we do,
So
it
do we
needs to
need-
be, I mean,
Meet specifically
We-
on
we-
that. I mean, we've been having numerous personnel problems continually. And if it is our job to do it, we're failing in that, and we need to step it up. So, I mean, I'm gonna withdraw my motion on that, and put that example, what it needs to be doing, and if it is the whole council that needs to do it, we need to step up our game on it, because if we are, we're failing them, because it's,
Right,
yeah,
okay.
we agree on that.
okay.
I'll be glad to send you a digital copy of our personnel policy to y'all, and you can have a chance to look over it.
If you would, that'd be excellent. Thanks so much. So I'll withdraw my motion, and I have no more further discussion unless anybody else does.
So are we moving on to the next
Can I
one?
make one motion though? Dr. McDonald's here with Cornerstone Church, and is it possible that we could just go ahead and get him here so he can get out?
I'll second
We're not
your
waiting
motion.
to the end of the meeting.
If that doesn't mess with anything as far, because I know it's new business.
Just move that one new business item to the front, just so we can get that out
Yeah,
of the way.
I'm second
If
that.
that's all right with,
Okay, alrighty. Yes, sir.
that way you're not sitting here all night waiting to
I'm
get
enjoying
to
it, my first trail. It's interesting. Mayor and council, I appreciate your time. My name's David McDonald, and I'm representing Cornerstone Baptist Church. I have owned a business in Carthage for almost 40 years, and several of our members are citizens in Carthage as well as Smith County, and we have outgrown our sanctuary. Last Sunday, we put out over 60 overflow folding chairs to accommodate the people that attended, and we're looking at the prospect of building a larger sanctuary, and we are limited because of the soil condition where we are. Our septic system is going to be a challenge, so we are considering asking permission to research engineering to get tied into the city sewer system. I've given each one of you these, or tried to get them to you. Explains a little bit about what we're doing. Assistant Pastor Brad Price is here. He's the one that has done a little bit of legwork. And if you'd like to ask questions, then he would be the gentleman that could answer the questions best. Now, it's very tentative research because it was going to involve some dollars to have an engineer look at it, and if it's not doable, there wouldn't be any point in spending those dollars. But Assistant Pastor Brad Price is here. Again, we appreciate your time, and we believe it's a win-win situation for all involved. Brad, stand up and address them. Or answer them.
I'm hesitant to even call it a proposition, but I'm going to say our proposition is that Cornerstone bear all of the financial load to getting our sewer pumped to within the city limits at, I believe it's Holly and Erica up behind Shoulders. There's a stub out at that location. The engineer, when he gave us a ballpark figure, even priced if the city line needed upgraded in order to carry our load from there to the manhole cover behind Carthage, us bearing the cost for that upgrade. That's in the paperwork you were given. We're not trying to cost the city anything, and we're aware that you don't owe us this. We're outside city limits, but the city code mentions those who are by contract or agreement with the city outside the city limits connected to the city sewer system, and so it is in the code that it's a possibility, and I'm trying to fit that to our circumstance close enough that it's worth our while to have a men's meeting, see if this cost is something our men would want to, even consider, and then possibly hiring an engineer, which of course would work with city attorneys and engineers, and we're not trying to do anything illegal, we're not trying to ask for favors, it would be additional billing for the city, and hopefully a win-win. We can build our sanctuary on what we have with the drip system, but that's it. We own 26 acres, and that will use the remaining soil we have, every inch of it.
And so, the sanctuary is fine, but we have one mission house already, potentially, we support, we personally have a dozen missionaries, foreign missionaries out of our church. And so years ago, when it was one or two, a family was in for 6 months or something, we could put them up in our mission house. And now we're having to stack them in, we're renting houses in the area and various things in order to accommodate, because just the type of ministry that it's grown to be. And so we're trying to look way in advance, and it's a lot of money, but if we do that with this sanctuary project, and y'all would consider allowing us to begin to walk this road, it would be a great favor, and I would be most grateful.
Could we hear from Dr. Duke as far as if that's within our
Actually,
purvey as far as planning
Steve
goes?
probably needs to open.
it needs to go to Steve
Probably
here.
needs to go to
I asked the mayor if she'd let me speak,
Yeah.
because as always, anything that comes into the city
Do you want
has to do with their capacity. And I can appreciate y'all looking at every option, that's what you need to be doing. So I asked the mayor if she would give me time to kind of bring the council up to date on where we are with our capacity in the system. And first of all, everybody's aware, y'all know what the I&I is, inflow infiltration. We've been battling because our pipelines are old in the system. We're getting a lot of water coming in that we shouldn't. So I just based the numbers on 2019. And as of 2019, we used 75% of our plant capacity. That left 25%. Well, we have a contract with the town of South Carthage for 25.5%. They have control of that much of our city capacity.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
That means we're taking in 25.5% of theirs?
Right.
Okay.
Now, they only used 15.5. For the whole year, we were 9%. We had 10% left, which is really pushing the bubble on capacity. That's at 625,000 gallons a day. But they have a contract for that other 10%. And they've had it since 1976. They had a 38-year contract. 2014, the agreement was renewed for 10 more years. So it'll be up again in 2024, but until then, South Carthage has 25.5% of our capacity. I didn't know if y'all were aware of that along the way. A lot of people know we take their sewer, but they've got that much capacity. So that leaves us with about 75%. We used it all last year. The numbers.
Steve, may I ask a question, because help us understand. So you're saying like if we had a big old jar and 75% of it was what we get water-wise, the other one would be theirs?
It's South Carthage, because they pay us for that. It goes back to 1976, and I think that was back when we did a lot of expansion, and then in 81, 82, when the industrial park come on, they did a little change, but in 2014, that's when the agreement was renewed for 10 years. And just to throw some numbers, we took over 206 million gallons in that plant last year, for that little plant down there. Carthage itself had over 170 million. South Carthage had over 35 million. So there's actually 9.5% capacity remaining. But we're under contract to South Carthage, and I didn't look this up till I got the letter where y'all were requesting this. And so basically, if TDEC got a hold of me, or if y'all want to get a permit, he said, you can't do this, you don't have no capacity. And that's why, I asked the mayor if I could just come tonight and explain to the council and everybody where we are. We do have a plan going forward on the collection system. It won't get fixed overnight, but we have met with the state. We've met with Mr. Kurtz, and we're having a plan to do the whole town, put it in sections, and check the whole system, start with the worst. We're looking at the pilot project, trying to get it where it won't cost the city money on the initial inspections, but it's going to take a while. And until then, our daily thing, Ricky will tell you, we was 500,000 gallon Monday. The storm come through Tuesday. We went to 1.88 million gallons. Today we were 1.5 million gallons. And that's in a 625,000 gallon plant. So we have way too much I&I. We don't have the capacity. what little we got left, South Carthage has a contract on. So I just wanted to bring up y'all's attention, and, you know, if y'all got any questions, I answer them.
You're saying this would not, in your opinion,
I'm just saying that out of 100% capacity, South Carthage got 25%. Whether they use it or not, they're paying for it. And I talked to the lady over today, Amy, what's her name? Amy Roberts. And they've had some people come in and buy some land. They're looking at maybe putting in a couple of subdivisions, you know. It's theirs, whether they use it or not. We have to allot for it. It's not something that we have. And we're on the bubble with Carthage. Like I say, if we got the people down at the old Texas boot are redoing that, and if they want to come online with something, somebody come here wanting to build some apartments, you know, we need to really be getting our eye on it. So.
Well, that's my question. How is this project any different than if any of the churches in town expanded? And I mean, it's just a couple of day a week thing. I mean, the couple of houses will be all the time, but like, what if somebody bought part of the Turner farm like they were looking at a while back and built a 50, 100 unit condo complex? We're gonna tell them no?
I'm gonna say.
I mean, we can't turn that down.
I'm not gonna say we'll tell them no, but probably T-Deck.
Well, that would be better for them
because
to turn them down than us.
T-Deck's gonna look at our capacity.
Right, but I'm saying like, are we just gonna like, all right, everybody, no more building in Carthage ever again?
But this is not in Carthage. I think that's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
Well,
I
but
don't
it
wanna-
ties on though.
Yeah, I agree.
It's overall.
And
I mean, I see what you're saying. I mean,
against y'all at all. I mean, I'm just telling you, I'm just bringing y'all up to where we are on our capacity at the plant.
I feel like, you know, I understand that we have X amount of capacity, but we can't tell people that they can't build either. I mean, are we gonna stop doing building projects?
Inside the city limits, though, that's what we're saying.
But
This is
it's gonna
outside.
come up regardless. So when Leviathan came in, did you all do the same procedure with Leviathan?
I'm sorry, what are you talking about?
At the
Texas boot.
That's
They're
in-
gonna be called Leviathan.
That's inside the city limits.
But it doesn't matter inside the city limits or outside the city limits. Did you go through this same process with Leviathan?
We'll have to, yes, eventually if they hook up.
Well, I would think they would hook up.
Yeah, they're gonna
why
be
wouldn't
hooking
they?
up.
Are they not already hooked up? It's been a plant for a long time.
Yeah.
They're gonna
But
be
they may
hooking
not
up.
have
But
service at the moment.
they don't have.
I
They
think
don't have
it
water.
sounds
service.
like Steve's point is though, whatever capacity we have is already
There's
contracted.
9.5 to 10% capacity left. Now, to me, it's under contract to them, but if they're not using it, town of Carthage comes in, somebody in the city limits wants to do this and that, as long as T-Deck don't have a problem with it, they give them a permit, I'm good. But there's a point and there's a line where T-Deck's gonna tell me, you don't have more capacity, you're not doing nothing.
So what do we do at that point, though? I mean,
I would refer that over to the registered judge.
I mean,
You have a state mandated moratorium on extending any more sewer hookups to anybody.
Right.
And that has happened. It does happen today in several cities. And they do enforce that. You're not allowed to put new sewer hookups when you have in the middle of a moratorium.
So we are basically at a stalemate as a city for anything new coming in here right now.
that's why I don't see it.
Until you fix
Or
the
I9, which
I-9
we're working
and-
actively.
and or expand the plant.
So we're working on the I9.
If we
We're
fix
gonna work-
9I, what's the capacity
Right
change
now,
to
I
at
have
that
two
point?
figures. One figure, the I-9 was 46% of our flow coming in, and one was 43. So you're looking at 45% of what we're getting in is I-9.
But do
And
y'all understand, because I didn't at first, what I-9 is all about?
I understand. Yeah.
Does everybody understand that?
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
it's,
That
so we're
means
looking
we've
at
gotta-
eliminating it with this I&I project that we got a grant coming for, that we're working actively to do, so we're gonna solve that.
We're talking about 5 or 6 years down the road. It's not gonna happen quick. The grant is just to do a study to see how we would approach doing this in a logical way.
Well, we-
Then you come on board and say, okay, it could take 5 or 6 years to replace all of our sewer lines. But we're
I
finally
don't-
getting a hold on trying to move forward with this.
I'm just, here's all I'm looking at is, we're gonna get, we need to be proactive on this. We need to go ahead and start going, cause, I like to let the church expand. And they're gonna do some expansion that is gonna be, not gonna cost us a bit. We're gonna make more money on it. Yes, it's gonna throw our overflow over a little bit, but so is anything else that comes in. So that, whether they come in or not, or another company comes in or not, or no, whatever happens, we need to be proactive about it and get it fixed. But I don't want to stall them right now on the aspect. I'd like to let them tie in and go for it.
Well, y'all don't have any
We are not that far in design, but we're probably at least 2 or 3 years out. We're on very basic architectural drawings.
You're just trying to see if it's even feasible right now.
Yeah.
We've got an architect involved and a civil engineer involved, and we're just, even on the building, it's very preliminary.
I think
We're looking at $2 or $3 million. It's gonna take a little while to raise that money. We won't go into debt, so.
would it be, think it would be possible to have your engineers give us an idea of how much capacity y'all would use on a regular basis?
They're saying for a sanctuary of 500, we're looking at 2,500 gallons a day that they would require us to be prepared for. Based on our water usage, we have never even come close to that. With 300 people, even prorated to the 300, we're not even close, because it's twice a week. There's heavy usage Sunday morning, lighter Sunday night, Wednesday night's about the same. And then other than that, it's staff. There's 4 guys there. But it's what we're gonna be required to have, about 2,500 a day, which is what, 0.3% of daily capacity, something like that. So
Yeah.
I understand it's substantial. That's 20, 21 or 22 bedrooms worth.
If they're gonna spend $2 to $3 million on this, I think it would be appropriate for us to give them the green light so that they don't go spend the money on it, or spend the money on just the preliminary engineer and then find out we're gonna say no. Especially if it's 2 or 3 years out, we're gonna be in the middle working on the I&I project
I have to
regardless.
say
Dr.
something.
Newcastle,
Okay, let me
something
say something. Go ahead. say something.
Just from the planning commission standpoint, everybody probably needs to read the municipal code real well about this. It's my understanding from the municipal code, once this sewer system is put in, then it's the city of Carthage responsibility afterward. That from there on to where they hook up at their place. So I would encourage you to read the municipal code.
But they're willing to take on that.
That's actually specified in the code as being within the city limits. If you do an addition, that you fund the main, and then the city takes it over. Outside the city limits, that would have to be written into contract, and Cornerstone's willing to carry the maintenance on this line without the city taking it over.
Okay, here's something when we ran this by our engineer, let me see if we're all on the same page, because what they were telling us, first of all, we would have to have a lift station at your property to pump it out. We'd have to have a second lift station somewhere near that manhole you're talking
What
about.
Les was recommending, he may want to
Okay.
talk about it, was having a
So-
lift station where it comes into Kirkwood Estates,
Okay,
because we didn't want it backing up into the houses up there to push it on over to the Hardys.
so we're talking about, I think y'all said about 300,000 per lift station, so that's 600,000. Then you're talking about 900 linear feet, which is about 1,000 feet, $1,000 per foot, which is 900,000, so we're up to 1.5 million. That also, because it's sewer and water, there will be depreciation figured into that, so I think we did the numbers, y'all would have to pay about $3,000 a month just on depreciation on the capital outlay, plus whatever water is coming in. We'd have to have a separate water monitor beyond the one that, whoever is providing your water, so that's something, if we have to eventually take that over, we're talking about servicing a line that we don't know where it's gonna be running. There's just a lot of variables, I don't think we've.
It's
even
also
thought
in an
about.
area that you're looking at expansion of population down the road. If there's gonna be an expansion, it's gonna be out there anyways.
Well,
I mean, I think if it's something they're willing to take on the cost on it, they're willing to take on the maintenance on it, we're not having to pay anything else on it. We need to fix our I&I regardless. I don't think this is the hill to die on with a church that's just using it twice a week and worshiping freely, you know, like.
There is always the chance that y'all would give us the green light tonight, and we go back to our engineer, and he talks to y'all's engineers, and the price simply is something that we're not willing to swing for the advantage.
I think it'd be
The price we've given so far, we feel like is worth considering, but clearly that's coming from our engineer. I'm not a civil engineer.
And while I know something about it, I don't, I wouldn't sit and argue prices, but ours are clearly light years apart. And so, yeah, all I can say is what I've been given and keep it on the table. Now,
We've had engineers that were
does-
light years apart too, so.
it does, with my out-of-the-box thinking, it does cross my mind that, Cornerstone could potentially appeal to South Carthage to sell us 0.3% of their 25% and put that on paper. Would that not rectify that problem?
Well, right now, we're under contract to 2024, on the 25.5%.
So can they resell some of that to us?
That would,
Well, here's another
I don't
possible.
know the bottom, I'm just telling you the number.
It'd be a sudden-
I'm just trying to be nice and say, I know I'm the lonely sewer operator, but this are the numbers. And like I say, whether it's the engineer or whoever goes to TDEC, I can almost guarantee you, when he looks at our capacity, he's gonna tell me I can't do it, and that's why I'm bringing it up now. I want y'all to know that, first of all, what South Carthage does have under our contract, and then what capacity we used last year because of I, and we don't have none left. But now, like I say, that's not against y'all, that's just giving y'all the facts.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to say, Dave and I have known each other since first grade, and I think what y'all are doing out there is fantastic
Yeah.
with your
Anytime.
work. But that being said, if we're at 100% now and we still have the potential for people who have owned property in town and are taxpayers, and then they want to come on board with a project, and we say, we can't let you have sewer because we let somebody outside the county that hadn't been paying property tax have that space. And I don't think that's fair to our taxpayers.
And I agree with you. Absolutely. We absolutely agree.
If we had any additional space, I could see.
Right, if it went for our I situation, which is about 46% of our capacity, we would be smooth sailing. And it didn't happen overnight.
Well,
And it won't get fixed overnight, unfortunately, but we do have a plan. I don't want to do what they did, I think about 5 years ago. They spent money on a section of sewer, I don't know how much it was, but at the plant, it didn't help any. We still had the same I. So we said, we don't need to be just throwing money at it. We gotta get a plan. We gotta make sure we're hitting the bad spots, so that's what we're trying to do going forward.
and I think Sam makes a good point. We're here to serve the people within the city limits. It's nothing against anyone outside.
Yeah.
And if y'all would like to annex all of Tanglewood and let all of them pay for our I, hey, let's go for it.
We're looking at new sewer, the new sewer system, probably, new plant probably within, 10 years?
Yeah.
I think that's
And
something
we
we need
want to make sure we get
do
at
it
least
now.
10.
Yeah. Well, what if we went ahead and gave them at least the green light to go ahead and start exploring and talk to our people? Your engineers talk to whatever engineer we have at the moment,
Or South Carthage.
and then talk to South Carthage and see if they'll sublet the capacity. I mean,
I'd
if
like
that
to
was,
keep it on the table for now.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
we'd be crazy not to do everything
Look
we
into it a
could,
little bit
especially
more.
if you could buy part of South Carthage's, and then that would technically just shift the numbers.
Like I say, I want to just make everybody aware of where we are on with capacity. And so that's my job, and I've done that.
We also have to go through the planning committee, too. We're just trying to get, can we even pursue this?
Right.
You're trying to see too if it's worth spending money on an engineer.
Absolutely. We're not
Yeah.
gonna spend $1.5 million on this.
Yeah.
And that's why when I seen what you were doing, looking at your options, I talked to the mayor and I said, well, if you can tonight, give me a little time so I can explain our capacity situation.
right.
Because we are in a very bad, me and Ricky face it every day. And, you go in and you got 1.9 million coming in a plant, that's triple capacity, and the state expects us to make permit, and it's a constant battle. And,
But again, I think it's the capacity, but it's also, we're here to serve the citizens of Carthage. And it's nothing against anyone outside,
Right.
but any extra development that we do has to.
If we're gonna start adding a la carte services, 'cause let's say 2 or 3 houses in Tanglewood side, they wanna come in on it. Well, we've already let somebody else that's not a taxpayer do this as an a la carte, so to speak. What grounds do we have to say they can't then?
Well, we do need to look at, though, we do benefit, because I'm sure they do, they're shopping here
Oh,
with
yeah.
local businesses,
Yeah.
so we
I
do
mean, they own
benefit from
businesses in
those
town and
folks.
everything else, but I think it'd be worth just, having the discussion with the engineer and have them give you a price. They may come to you and be like, it's gonna cost $1.3 million, and y'all gonna be like, there's no way we're gonna build a sewer line for that much. I don't know.
What I'd like to suggest, if I may, we have 2 engineers who specialize in sewer. Maybe put that together with your thoughts, and the engineer who's working on our I&I is the top sewer engineer in the country right now. He could certainly tell you if this is even feasible, your design.
I'd love to get them to collaborate.
I mean, because.
That's at least a step that we can take.
Right. Like Steve says, it's T-deck and everything else, but please, at the same time, remember, we're serving the people of Carthage, and I mean, that's who we serve.
I wanna try to find a way to make this work instead of trying to find a way to not make it work.
Well,
That's
but as
what I
Sam
wanna try to
says,
do, and if
we
that's
can
what we
open it
gotta
up
do to do it, let's do
to
it.
a number of people outside the city,
Well,
but
has it been done before?
no.
We have-
No,
we
we have
annexed other
we have
clubs.
what's called a city-to-city contract with South Carthage, that they get a certain percentage, and their lines feed into our sewer. But
So do we
again, guys,
treat it as if, we would treat it as if, for a private entity, the same way we treat it with
But the
South
reality,
Carthage,
guys,
technically?
I mean, it doesn't matter if we don't have, until we can get our I&I, until we can redo our lines coming into the plant, that would make a huge difference as far as, it's
Yeah, I'd
not
be
just.
all for it if we had the capacity to take it.
Yeah, we just
I
don't.
get what you're saying too, I'm not disagreeing.
I'd love that to be able to work it out, but.
I mean,
If
it's
they
kinda
go
like,
to TDEC, they're
I'd
probably
like to
gonna tell
have
them
this,
that
but
I
if we
can't
don't have
take
it, we don't, you know.
But that's not to say down the road somewhere, if we can get our I down or whatever. I'm just telling you what the situation is that we're working under, and I work for the council in the town of Carthage, so I wanted to bring y'all this information.
I'd
And
like-
let you know that
And-
what South Carthage
The other
has.
thing, and we've said over and over, we want to honor our supervisors and our employees. We want to trust that they know their jobs, that's why they're there. I hear our supervisor saying, we're putting him in jeopardy because he cannot go over capacity. And
We all
need to-
understand that and agree on
we
that
know.
already.
Well, TDEC was
We need to fix our I&I, and then we can help everybody if we can do that.
I don't want to get in a situation where the state says every day you're over capacity is a violation. Last year, we was over capacity 100 days out of 365. That's over plant capacity. I don't want to get to that point, and when we're 90%, that's borderline for the whole year. That's almost. And then when I look at the fact with the contract that South Carthage actually is paying us for the other 10, I just need to bring that to y'all's attention and let you know what's going on. Like I say, it's nothing at all with y'all. I'm just trying to run the sewer plant and keep us out of trouble with the state. And we'll pursue it over how the council wants to. And if TDEC gets involved, I'll talk to them and I'll tell you what they said.
Well, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we allow them to go ahead and start exploring a little bit further with their engineers and our engineers. And then
See what the possibilities are.
possibly talk, like
We
you
do
said, talk
appreciate
to
that.
South Carthage, and have us something back.
Are they gonna pay the additional engineering fees that our engineers
Yeah.
do?
They got to. They'll have to. We can't take
And y'all
that.
pay the fees for our engineers to collaborate, just at least the talk?
Sure.
At least that way we're not out anything and.
No, we're not trying to cost the city anything. And we understand exactly what's been said here. There's no more room to add anything to the system. We understand that. And it may be that we can get our church building built, some type of a system that works for us, and then when the I&I is taken care of in the future, then, and maybe we want to build a dormitory out there for more, then we can do it then. When the capacity is within reason. We're, if I was in your shape, I'd say, no, not right now, because it's not doable. I understand that. Nobody has to feel bad about it. I appreciate every one of you, the
I think
time
that's-
you've invested in it, and Steve's time he's invested in it, and we understand exactly what's going on, and again, we thank you for your time and your consideration. It's
Mr.
not
Dable, do
doable.
you want to add anything to this? I think what I hear Steve saying, and even though he's being very polite about it, is he just doesn't
You
feel
beat
this is.
one up. Let it go.
Okay.
We're full of capacity, and like I say, I don't want them to get in, to start spending money and get to the point where TDEC turns around and comes and says, Steve, you can't do this. That's why I wanted to bring the numbers out, and trip two, I think everybody realized we had South Carthage, but not realized how much
the capacity they have.
I'm gonna second Matt's motion.
We're gonna try and make a motion if y'all wanna explore a little bit further. It'd be on your dime, but
That's a great
it's whatever. So we got a first and a second, so.
Any more discussion?
Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and the motion is to let our engineers explore with their engineers, and you'll pay the cost for our engineers to explore. All righty.
I thank y'all. I
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for your time.
Appreciate it.
Hope it works out.
Okay, so now we have charter amendments, right? We moved it forward. Okay,
I believe.
all righty,
We can keep pushing you down.
there we go.
I laid in front of you all this evening a revised amendment that basically what I did was to take out all the red lines or the stuff that was crossed out and underlined and tried to simplify it so it's easier to read. So what you have in front of you, it says resolution to amend charter, Carthage Town Charter. What I've done is to organize it into sections very similar to what you all have. The things that are new or that we've added that are different from what you've seen are all underlined sentences. You'll see them in various places throughout the document. What I have done with this is basically, based on the direction that I heard at the last meeting, is that we go back and just include stuff to clean up the charter, to make it legal in places where things weren't where they needed to be. I think the one thing I think we've added had to do with the town attorney, which is kind of new, but we felt strongly that that should be a part of your charter, since the attorney is an official, considered an official of the city. Along with, I think, some of the documentation with the city reports. So some of the other things that were in, what you'd seen the last time have been removed, because they were additions to, or, strengthening, perhaps maybe strengthening certain things that were kind of outside the scope of cleaning it up. So that's what you have in front of you right now from me. The other thing that you have in front of you, and I did it on purpose, is a second piece of paper. I didn't put a heading on it, I meant to put a heading on it, but it has to do with property rights voting. The top paragraph has to do with that. We've actually taken what someone else has done in terms of this, that the Attorney General's office has said, in essence, the way this has been calculated, or how someone would qualify to get an ability to vote as a property owner, there is statutorily okay, as opposed to some other methods that some other communities are using. So we were comfortable with that paragraph. The second paragraph about non-resident property owners, that comes straight out of the state statute, where you're allowed to, and I would highly, if and when you decide to go to non-resident property owner voting, that you make this, what this section of the state statute allows for, that you do that. This is, it allows for absentee voting, and I will tell you that most I think most of the election, especially in smaller counties, most of the election commission staff would rather have these folks doing absentee
They would.
voting. Because I have several cities, smaller communities that do this, the the property rights voting. And that's a big push for the election commission administrations.
So I guess I would like, just to begin this conversation, I'd like to go ahead and motion that we insert both these areas with the absentee voting, and that would go under section 3 after, I think it's the second sentence after,
Make it part of the first sentence.
it'd be part of the first sentence, okay.
Yeah, I already thought about that.
Okay, so it'd be after the first sentence, insert it there, section 3 after the first section with the, everything that Mr. Jekyll has presented on this page.
Now, the only thing that would not be included here in this regard is the part about the second paragraph, this part here.
That's just the clarification?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's something that you all would have to do as a separate ordinance.
Okay.
If I understood you correctly, this says that the second paragraph, this would mandate that it was done that way, right? Not give the option?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that's.
Yes, and trust me, you're gonna have that conversation with the election commission.
Right.
Okay, so that's just, the second section is something that we're gonna look at later. The first section
Yeah, you
allows for us to look at it later. Okay, so, I guess I wanna rephrase that, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, procedurally, and y'all correct me if you think I'm wrong, but what I might suggest you do, Mr. Jacobs prepared a resolution for you to consider. If you want to make a motion to approve that, and then if you want to then make amendments or changes to that as we move forward, instead of approving something. So if you want to rephrase your motion, what I might suggest is motion to approve the resolution that's been presented with this addition. And
Okay, because I do,
discussion there.
and just make sure we clarify to everybody, I file with doing that, but there's gonna be a lot of discussions and amendments to that motion.
And-
If
and
you guys
that's
are
where I
okay
think
with
you-
doing that.
That's where it gets tricky, because if you want to pull something,
Yeah.
I mean, you can still do it, but.
So we're not ready to do that yet, is basically what you're saying. We're
You
not
gotta
ready for
start
this motion.
somewhere. Gary, do you have an idea where the best place to start it would be, as far as the first motion?
Well, I honestly, I think the first motion should have been probably to approve the resolution as it's written, then start.
And then start on our
and
amendments. Yeah.
Start doing the amendment part, because this would be an amendment to that.
Are you all, is everybody good with that way, proceeding that way?
Do we need to let the election commission, Yvonne, have a look at
We've
all
been-
this and?
Yeah,
Yeah, they're, in terms of the property rights thing,
Mm-hmm.
no, I don't, you're just gonna have to give them information if and when it comes back, and you approve it on the back end.
If they have like any kind of things that they wanted to add or change
Well-
to it, like what
Well,
would we do
they're
at that
gonna,
point?
they won't care about this, because that's your local, I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit on the amendment, but that's your, how you wanna do that. The individuals who wanna take advantage of that would have to do the things that are in here to satisfy the requirements, which is to produce documentation that they own, or, are, at least 50% or something of a particular property.
So we basically, this is just establishing, if I'm correct on that, this is just establishing it, Matt,
Yes.
and then we still got work to follow up on it through ordinances. But this is just establishing
Yes.
it in the charter so that we can follow up with it with ordinances and work with
So
the
we can
election commission.
Do, okay.
Yes.
I just wanna make sure that we're
Yeah.
not just
Yes. that's
knocking
absolutely
something,
correct.
just
Yeah,
throwing it
we
in.
got a
We're just
couple-
giving the
few more
option for us to
steps.
do it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna withdraw that motion since everybody's okay with that. I'm going to motion that we approve, this charter that has been presented to us.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right.
Any discussion?
Okay. Now I'd like to propose,
We need to vote on that
No, we
first.
have to vote first.
no, because inside that, we're gonna start on amendments, am I correct?
No.
You can have discussion before the vote, but.
Yeah.
No, we're
Because
voting.
we wanna vote on amendments
If
during
you
this
want
time.
changes to this, we're
No,
not ready
no,
to make the
no, no.
You're
motion.
gonna, yes,
It's my
you're gonna vote on
understanding.
amendments first.
Yes.
Because then, once you do the amendments, then you come back to the original motion.
Yes, okay,
Trust me.
thank you.
I've done this a few times.
Yeah,
Thank
so,
you.
since we're in discussion in that, I'm going to motion to amend, the charter under this section, which what I was saying before. This first paragraph on this page right here, inserting after the first sentence of section 3, election and eligibility. And that would be my motion.
Second.
Okay, the motion is to insert this that you presented under section 3, the first part of it. Is that
First
right?
sentence.
First sentence.
And there's a
And
second.
then the rest would remain as it is that correct? Okay. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on that?
So we're gonna vote on just this amendment, is all we're
Yes,
voting
sir.
on
We're
now.
gonna vote just on this amendment, yes. All in favor of this amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, let me ask you, do we have to then go back? Are we gonna vote on all the
Yeah.
separate amendments first and then attach them?
If there were other additional amendments
Okay.
somewhere else.
I have a few that I did wanna bring up, as far as it goes. I know the MTS is recommending that we, either do town or city. I think we kind of, when we last all spoke, we talked about town, but I think that would be more appropriate, as I looked up definitions of towns and city. One, in the United States, typically towns are unincorporated entities, such as, like Grant would be a town, where cities are more incorporated, they have a government, local government. Also, all of our vehicles say City of Carthage. We always talk about the city limits. Everything we do is, we talk about the city of Carthage. All of our events are city events. We have the River City Ball, we have, just everything is city. So what I would say is, I would like to amend that we change everything in here that refers to town, amend the language to change it to city.
Second that.
Is there discussion? I'd like to insert something. Our charter was founded as the town of Carthage. That was over 200 years ago almost. Well, I mean, it's a long time ago. And historically, we are, we're historically a town. It's part of who we are and our history here. And it's maybe minor, but I feel historically that's very important, that we're the town of Carthage. I think a lot of people who grew up here might feel the same way. I don't know. I'm just assuming.
Does this change everything, like letterheads or everything that goes to city? Will it change everything?
Yeah, I mean, we've always been the town of Carthage. I'm not sure what
Change letterheads.
what does it accomplish?
We
I mean,
change it,
I'm just saying
yeah.
the
Yeah.
other stuff too, that just.
We'd be changing letterhead, or we'd be changing cars, bridges,
just not sure what we
signs,
accomplished by doing
everything
this.
else.
Well,
Does it
I
have to,
think people can have an alias. I think the town can have an alias. We can say the charter is the town of Carthage and put a section in here that the town may also be called the city
Right.
of Carthage, where historically that has been used as our town name. So that it can be
it could be
interchangeable.
town/city? That's what
Just for
you're saying.
consistency, keep town in the charter.
So the charter would refer to town, but we wouldn't have to change the police cars because historically they've said city of Carthage. And the charter can even add something reflecting that, acknowledging that, yes, we refer to ourselves as a city in some instances. That makes everybody happy.
There you go. All right. So do you want to?
So I would make a motion to add a provision to the town charter.
Well, there's our,
Well,
so,
Well, make an
yeah.
amendment to
So there's a motion and
You would amend the amendment.
there was a second on this.
You're going to amend the amendment.
So amend the amendment to add a provision to list City of Carthage as an alias of Town of Carthage.
But we remain the town of Carthage.
We would remain the Town of Carthage in the charter and use City of Carthage where necessary and where historically used.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we can vote on the amendment to the amendment, which is to add an alias in our charter that we are the Town of Carthage, but we can occasionally use
Use both.
City of Carthage. Okay,
Everybody,
so
everybody okay with that?
is there, do we have any
Yeah,
further
second.
discussion on that? We have, first of all, do we have a second?
Yeah, I
I'm
think-
sorry. Okay,
Cole seconded the
Second.
amendment to the
Okay.
amendment.
Okay.
I seconded the amendment, and then
okay, we're on the
we're down the
amendment to the
rabbit
amendment.
hole.
Hold on.
So I'm not really sure.
All right, so on Council Lady Scott, amendment to the amendment, is there discussion on that, please?
Gary, do you have any ideas how that'll fit into the?
That's what I was just trying to figure that out as I was looking through this. I think I would put it under section 2, general powers, succession, and just add a sentence in there about
And if, during this discussion phase that we have, what I would say, Jacqueline, just because I think it would be easier, it would probably be easier for us to vote all this down that we just talked about on this amendment, and then you reintroduce your amendment, because it'll keep everything as town, because my motion was that we change it to city. Would you agree on that?
So does everyone
Okay.
want to withdraw your amendments? You can do that if you want to, all right? At this point.
Yes.
Okay, so-
I would need to admit, I'll withdraw my amendment.
Okay,
To
so-
the amendment. You
okay.
withdraw your
I'm
amendment.
going to withdraw my amendment,
Okay.
and then,
I withdraw my amendment.
okay, so
And
now you make your motion.
make a motion to amend the charter
We're okay.
to
we're
stay
just-
the Town of Carthage,
starting
but
over with
use
Jacqueline.
City of Carthage where necessary and as historically used.
Second.
Okay, originally you said that we would call it the Town of Carthage and charter, but an alias, or you still want to
Use
say?
it, yes.
We're gonna use the alias, so this is just saying that we can use it as an alias, everything still stays the same, because they changed it to
But
town.
hold on, so it's going to say, in the charter, we use Town of Carthage with the possibility of an alias, the City of
City of
Carthage.
Carthage.
We'll put it under section 2,
where necessary.
Where necessary and where historically we've used it.
where, I'm sorry, necessary,
Where necessary and where historically it has been used.
historically, Town of Carthage is the use, okay? And we're gonna insert that under section 2 at the beginning, is that what you're saying?
I'll add it at the end
At the end?
of section 2.
Okay, so I'm gonna preep this one more time. We're gonna keep the Town of Carthage in the charter as the official name, but we're inserting the possibility of an alias, City of Carthage. We'll use Town of Carthage where it's historically appropriate. Okay, and we'll insert it under section 2 at the end. Do I hear a second to that motion?
We
Second.
had a second,
Okay.
yep.
Any further discussion about this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, did you get all that down?
I got it.
Okay, great. All right. So now we go, is there any other amendment? Anyone?
Yes, I do. If y'all look at his on here, let's move to, this doesn't have page numbers, so I'm gonna go, it's gonna be section 13. Are there page numbers? I don't see any, I
No,
apologize.
it just goes by section number.
Okay, so section 13, under general duties of the mayor. I think that the MTS recommendations gave the mayor, a little too much teeth on this.
Have you read the
Basic.
new one? It doesn't have that in it.
Okay, I would like to, scratch out section number 1 here, completely. I'd like to take that out. And if you look at our old charter, it did not have that part in there.
Yes, it did.
It did, because I was looking at it.
No, then you didn't look in the right spot, but it's there.
I looked at under
It's
section
not
13.
underlined.
We
So I
moved it,
see.
we moved it from a different section in your charter to this
So you
particular
moved to the
section.
front. Okay. Well, what I would like to do
Trust me,
is,
it's there.
I would like to again, I would like to take that part as far as the supervision of officers and employees in the municipality. And I'd like to quote the mayor on why, as far as we trust our supervisors. I don't feel like we need to have this is our, I think the council, we fire people, and we hire and fire people and expect that they can do their day-to-days operations without being supervised and macromanaged, and should there be an issue that comes up, it can come up at a council meeting. So I would like to basically take that section out completely. And where I would put that in is would go underneath the council powers, enumerated powers of the city council, under section 33, near the end, at the last sentence, where it say the council is authorized to promote, discipline, suspend, and discharge all employees pursuant to the city's personnel policies. Also remembering that this is the council as a whole, not any individual council member, but the council as a whole body acting together.
What section are you referring?
That would be under section 11. I
So
apologize.
you're talking about Section 1133.
Yes, number 33. If this didn't change from the, I'm working off of the one you gave us last time, Mr. Jacob.
Changed
Changed.
a little bit.
Okay, so provide for the, yeah, this is, so right now his says provide for the establishment and operation. So my change would be, right now it currently says provide for the establishment and operation of all offices, boards, divisions, departments not herein enumerated, which may be deemed necessary, expedient in the interest of town. So if y'all want to watch that as I read the new one, the way it would read, would say provide for the establishment, operation, and supervision of all city offices, officers, boards, divisions, departments, and employees not herein enumerated, which may be deemed necessary or expedient in the interest of the city, or I guess we'd say town there. The council is authorized to promote, discipline, suspend, and discharge all employees pursuant to the city's personnel policies. So my motion would be to scratch that whole section under, motion is to scratch section 13, number 1, and to amend section 29, or section 11, number 33, with that writing.
So if I understand what you're asking is that there
So
were
we
no.
just we need to get a second, then we have discussion.
Okay, do I hear a second to that?
We can vote it down, you can second it, and we can have discussion, and you can still vote it down. Just allows us to have discussion.
I'll second it just to have the discussion on it.
Okay.
Because I have a couple of questions about it anyway.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying. You would no longer have a person who on the day-to-day supervises the supervisors and has some sort of check and balance. So you have 3 levels, 3 sections of government. The supervisors would have to wait till a council meeting to get any kind of go-ahead for things instead of having our weekly, bi-weekly supervisor meetings. They could come to me with whatever needs they have, as we've always done. I don't quite understand how we would operate that way.
This says the supervision of all officers and employees. It's saying supervision. It's not saying you can't operate your duties. You can still do your duties. You're not going to supervise, though.
Well-
We're taking away the supervision
Okay.
aspect. We don't. I'm not going to say we because I'm going to speak on for me. I don't feel that we need you supervising. I feel that we elect officers to supervise things, and should something come up on a day-to-day, yes, you still have the power to sign off and do those things, but you are not their supervisor.
Okay.
That is what I'm putting here. She still holds her role, or any mayor that would come forward holds
Have
her.
we asked any of the supervisors how they feel about this? Have you run this by any of them? I mean, have you gotten their thoughts about if that would work for them?
I've gotten several thoughts about it, yeah, but which is why I'm doing this.
And
And it's not based on you. It's not based on a previous mayor. It's based on what I've learned in the training I went to as far as how do we want to run a strong mayor form or a weak mayor form? Do we want our mayor to be more of a figurehead or more of a person who manages our city? Do we want to set up our city for possibly a city manager or city administrator down the road as someone who's more qualified as far as day-to-day operations as opposed to a political pit? Basically separating the politics from the administration.
You're going to the meetings you've been going to, we're talking about their department heads, two different things.
Right.
What we already have in place, that's what
Right.
she's saying.
Yes, what I'm saying is separate the admin from the politics.
This has worked quite a lot of years this way. I'm not sure what this accomplishes to suddenly have them not having anyone to come to on a day-to-day basis. I don't
Again,
understand.
like you just said, did I speak with other supervisors? The answer is yes, which is why I'm bringing this forward, is
Okay.
because I have spoken with other
Well,
supervisors.
If it was the letter that you sent us, I think some of those supervisors may feel
Did you
that
speak
wasn't
to other
adequate.
supervisors in the room? The ones-
Yes, I've spoke to
Okay.
some supervisors.
How
in the
did they
room.
feel about it?
Rusty, were you spoken to?
We haven't had this discussion.
Les?
My question would be, who would let's just say I have a piece of equipment that breaks, like, for instance, a turbidimeter, which is a state-required piece of equipment, has to be running 24/7.
Mhm.
They're about $5,000–6,000 a piece. We've got at least 3 in the plant. If one goes down, the state requires me to replace it within 5 to 7 days. Do I have to wait to get, I can still go to the mayor and say,
You sure can. You still go to the mayor. You are just not supervised by the mayor. You are allowed to, what this is doing is giving our supervisors more freedom to do their job. Well, if I
Is
can
this going
finish.
back to what you just brought up last month?
No, this is not.
Okay.
Bill,
Okay.
if I can finish. This is allowing supervisors to do their job without being micromanaged by someone who doesn't do their job. The same goes for the council. Okay, now we just got done going through a whole stipulation on how we want to trust our supervisors. Well, this is how we can show we trust our supervisors. I do not feel our supervisors need to be day-to-day managed. I do not feel that. Now, if you have an issue, you still bring it to the mayor. The mayor still signs off on it. But I don't feel that you need to be supervised by the mayor.
Does anybody know where this is going?
I have no
Yeah,
idea what
what
you're
is this
talking about. I have no idea what you're
You're
talking
trying to take the power away from the mayor, is basically what you're trying to do.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
It's a little hard to run a business or a municipality without someone at the top sort of being able to make day-to-day decisions and help the supervisors, like Rusty said, work through whatever comes up. It's a ongoing day-to-day.
Day-to-day.
And I think anyone who works with me can tell you it's a 24-hour, almost 16-hour a day job because it doesn't stop at 4 o'clock. And
How would all this work out if we hired a town administrator? How would any of that change? And this part in general duties, would we just,
Well,
because
I think.
if we hired a town administrator, a lot of that would be thrown to the town administrator, right? As far as the duties, the supervision of officers and employees and whatnot.
But that, you know what, that takes away the argument that Mr. Ebel just made for not having someone in that role.
right, you gotta have someone.
Seriously.
Right.
You just took away the reason for having a city administrator by what you said. So I don't think then your city administrator idea takes wings. Because
If we
you're
take this part
basically-
out.
You're basically saying we don't need a person in that capacity to run the day-to-day operation.
Then if we leave it as it is, even if we hire a city administrator, the mayor would still be the supervisor. I'm just trying to clarify.
You can, no, because if you recall what I gave you at the last meeting, there was a 2-page section that came out of the general law mayor aldermanic charter that had a city administrator as a part of that whole piece. the mayor, until such time as you hire a city administrator, the mayor retains some of those responsibilities as it relates to day-to-day operation, personnel management, budgets. But at some point in time, your community, your organization may very well be at a place that you want to have a city administrator. May, at some time. I don't know that this is the time. It might be. But doing the other gives you the flexibility to have a city administrator at some point. And I'm kind of fumbling to find that section that I gave you.
If I can give you the intention of this, if maybe that'll help clarify, the intention of this is to get our people what they need, let them do their job, and get out of their way. And if they need something signed off on, we sign off on it, and we get out of their way. That's the intention on it. My intention is and what I have been told by, and I'm not going to go and do what she did and call people out and ask who's told me what or whenever, but what I have been told is there are supervisors that are micromanaged. I also know there's supervisors that are not micromanaged. There are supervisors being told what to do in an area where there's no expertise coming from this office, and they are completely being micromanaged. That's the intention behind this.
I question you, to me it appears there's some ambiguity in here though, that do they have the right to sign off, does she have the right, it doesn't clarify that she does have the right to sign off on him getting $5,000 for his equipment.
And I don't want to take off that right for her to sign off on equipment. I think that needs to be there.
But if we take what your amendment in there, how is that addressed?
Again, I think she still has her day-to-day duties, but she's not going. So there's day-to-day duties. I have a day-to-day job, okay, and I can do my job continually, but I don't need to. Part of my job, what I'm taking away is part of my job. I still do all parts of my job, but I no longer have to control this person over here or that person over here. They can do what they're supposed to do. They can bring that before that person. Now she can deny it. She can approve it. She still has that, but she is not there to supervise them. And
I am totally lost at what you're saying, because I have no idea what you're saying actually, because I don't try to tell the sewer or the water or anybody else how to run the job. I know I have no. That would be ridiculous.
And I'm not going to.
What I do is
I'm not going to call out names, and I'm going to say that in the past, the sewer and the water have had issues with that with previous administration. I will say in this current administration that other departments have had problems with that as well. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying. We need a mayor. She has things that she needs to do on her day to day. I'm saying I don't feel like our departments need to be supervised by the mayor. I don't think, again, I'm going to take y'all's words, what you said when I was speaking earlier. We need to trust our department heads. Let's trust them.
I agree with you what you're saying there, but I don't think the method that you want to use here makes that clear. It doesn't.
Okay. I feel like if that's something that we want to do, hiring a town administrator would be the better avenue to take. And if we take this part out, then like Gary said, then it would clip the wings on it.
There's already no supervision needed, is what this would be saying.
Right. I mean, is that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah, if I may, and Gary, correct me if there's another provision that you found that, but under what you have currently, in the middle of section 11, general duties of the mayor, it says the mayor shall be the chief executive officer in charge of supervision of all officers of the municipality and see that the laws or ordinances be enforced. Now, I looked at this when we had this issue come up before, and it doesn't specifically say employees. And the officers are police chief, the recorder, and the judge, and would be the town attorney if this is amended. I think that gives the town the flexibility to have a personnel policy that basically refers or answers to the council. It doesn't prevent you from appointing a town administrator later and assigning those duties to there. But so a couple things. I think you could legal language like it is, just remove employees.
But this is a different language, though, is what he's saying.
Right, it specifically says employees.
You're saying keep the old language out of the old chart.
Right. or just strike and employees.
Okay.
Or you can leave employees in there and add a clause that says, unless at such time the council appoints a town administrator or another position to assume that those supervisory duties, something to that effect. That way it's, you don't have a potential conflict in the future with the mayor saying, well, if the charter gives me the right to supervise, and the town administrator saying, well, you hired me to supervise. So that.
Does that alleviate my intentions of what I'm trying to present here?
Well, I understood your motion to strike all the executive authority that the charter offers her and supervision over the officers and employees. So this is, I think.
Mine is just aimed at supervision. I'm not trying to aim at anything else other than supervision. Does that make sense?
But if we took out the language of "and employees," that would.
And add until such time that we would.
I think that would
choose to
kind of take
hire.
care of the majority of the problems that you're having.
If you take out employees, I think you've got essentially the situation that you have now. But that's, or if you leave in employees and add a clause that says, or unless the town council appoints an administrator, then you're giving the mayor supervisory authority over employees now, but with the ability to take it away later. Yeah, I think.
What are your thoughts, Marva?
I agree with exactly what he said.
Again, I don't know how many of our supervisors have ever actually been asked about this. I think.
That's not necessarily the question, though.
Well, I
We
know
know there
that.
has been toxic problems with you and some of the supervisors.
Well.
And there has been toxic problems with past administrations and other supervisors.
Okay.
And it's not about this department might be having an issue with the current mayor and another department might have had an issue with the past mayor. It's just I'm just wanting to fix the problem, and I just want people to stay in their lane and get these guys what they need. And I don't think I don't feel that I'm qualified to supervise a water plant. Does that make sense?
Eliminating all supervisory power is gonna create a whole new set of problems.
Of course it is.
When,
Exactly.
like, say, the water department and the sewer department both need the
Yes.
public works department to come help them out with something, and Les says, okay, what am I supposed to do? Who is he gonna
But
ask?
I did add those supervisory powers to the council.
But if it's urgent, he can't
Yes.
wait
Yeah,
till the
we
next
can't
council
be waiting
meeting.
for a
He
monthly
needs somebody
meeting.
But
to
is that
ask.
supervisory, or is that considered supervisory?
Yes. It's as if you had a
think what the
business
attorneys
and you take the
advise, we need to
CEO
go
off of the business.
That
I mean,
keeps them
who's gonna
from-
run it?
Going between each other too. 'Cause
Okay.
supervisors are equal. Who do they go to when there's an issue between departments?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If there's a disagreement, who would someone go to?
Okay.
And-
So
and-
what I'm gonna
and
do then,
Also, on top of that, all of the grants, all of the loans, everything that affects all of these departments, all of them. I mean.
okay,
what
I'm gonna
would we do?
withdraw my motion. How should I make this next motion correct to where we're going, what we want to do here?
I think I've proposed, there's any number of options, but what I've suggested is either mirror the language that's in the existing code, which doesn't refer to employees, or add employees, and, which, again, I think as a practical matter, the employees are reporting to the mayor in a supervisory role now, even if it's not in the current charter, but I think if you add it in there, it could potentially impact your personnel policy and the council's ability to take action under it. But, so one or the other, either give the mayor supervisory subject to the town council later appointing an administrator, or leave it like mirror the language you have now.
So I'd say we want to subject it towards possibly down the road getting a city administrator. I mean, and so is that something that your thoughts?
Well, you gonna make a motion to that?
Well,
I'm bringing it up about a town administrator, so.
Yeah,
Later on.
here,
So,
after we're done with this, yeah.
I'm
So,
just saying,
I just want to know.
I think I don't know, I can't speak for the whole council, but.
Okay,
I
so
imagine that a town administrator is probably
something
high
that
on
we
the
want.
priority list.
Okay, so you are open to having a discussion about a town administrator then?
Sure, but not right in the middle of all this other.
No, that's okay. So, but we want to make sure we're doing this
We need to
accordingly.
leave the door open.
Yes, I want to leave the door open on it, is what I was saying. So-
Absolutely.
Okay, so leaving the door open for the town administrator, we would say
So if you took the language that's been submitted, we're in a second.
And I already withdrew my motion, so that's off the table.
Yeah. I think Todd, Mr. Moore has it right in the sense that if you just strike out employees,
Okay.
you get back to what's currently been as part
Okay.
of the charter.
So my motion is to strike out employees. To amend the charter to strike out employees.
And then would that allow us the
And to
option to hire?
add-
You would have to add.
No, you could just strike employees, and again, because there's nothing else. Now, and I don't know what, Matt, particularly you mentioned town, I don't know if you want to have the town administrator discussion as part of a charter amendment, or just.
I think we want to do that afterwards.
Separate.
We just want to leave
thought
the
it was
door
just
open
down-
for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So again, if you just strike employees, it's gonna leave you with what you have now, and I think the council has the ability, under the charter, to hire an administrator. It wouldn't be an officer, but could be a supervisory employee, and assign duties to that person also.
Okay, I'm good with that. So my motion stands at.
Can I kind of throw something in? Because what we talked about is using the language, it's you exclude employees, leave officers. But you've got people who are supervisors who are not officers.
Mm-hmm.
They're employees.
Exactly.
Well, but you all can call them supervisors. And as a matter of fact, a lot of communities do in fact do that. That supervisors report to, officers and supervisors report to city administrators.
So
And
we,
and
So strike
supervisors are-
employees and add officers and supervisors.
But then what you're doing in this charter amendment is giving that authority to the mayor. So then
Okay.
you'll probably want to add the,
I-
I think, based
I would
on the
s-
conversation, you want to add that clause.
I would say
I
let's
think we
just
do too.
strike employees.
I think we want to add that in the charter until such time as we would choose to hire a city manager.
Okay. So strike employees.
It's not saying we're ever going to, but it leaves the option open. Maybe I'm not understanding it.
Yeah, again, I think if you strike employees, you're left with what you have now, basically, which, there's a little gray area there maybe, but it seems to have worked, and I think it still gives you the ability to hire an administrator person later without any further charter amendments. Or you can specifically say, we're gonna give the mayor supervisory authority over employees now, or when the new charter goes into effect, until such time the council appoints or designates appoints a town administrator and designates another person to assume supervisory roles, or assign them supervisory roles.
Okay,
Now,
I would
That makes
assume,
sense to
I
me.
think it would be best if we kept it as it is, strike employees, keep it as it is, and then, I think
fine.
I
just-
think that's the safest course
I
of
just have, like,
action to
one-
not.
One
Okay.
question about the town administrator, if we were to hire one, would the mayor be over the town administrator? Would it be like town administrator and then mayor and council right there where the town administrator reported directly to the council and the mayor had no,
Is the town administrator an officer?
The good, that's the
well, it
thing,
would be
that's
an
the-
officer at that point because
Well,
we
You
would
could set it
appoint
up
it.
however you wanted to. You could make them an officer, in which case they would report to the mayor. Or you could just have them be an employee and then they would report to the council, but they would have a job description that included supervisory authority. You could do it either way, in my opinion.
I think the big thing about putting a town administrator in is to kind of sidestep any mayor. It doesn't matter who it is, but just to have one single person that reports directly to us, and if we don't like what they're doing, we just, sorry, you're
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
So how does that
So
help
we
your
would say-
checks and balances if you have someone like that?
Well, they
What does
report
that
to
do
the,
to it?
they report to the council.
Okay, but if
And
you
so-
get rid of them, if you don't like what they're doing, where's the checks and balance there?
It's just,
It's a non-political
I mean,
job.
It's
Yeah.
a that's the thing, we're trying to separate admin and politics. And what I feel has been happening with this administration and the last administrations is we are combining, we're pushing politics into admin, and admin needs to be its own thing. Admin is non-political. It doesn't matter how you feel about this or that. It is non-political, and that's what we need to do here. And so, again, I guess we would. I just wanted to keep it as it is. So my motion is to strike employees.
Okay, then
from it.
I have one other question because
Well,
just.
if I can get a second, well, let's have discussion.
Second.
Okay.
My other question is, what you're suggesting is interesting, but would this apply on any other governmental basis where you've got executive level, legislative, and judicial? If you strike out one of those levels, how does that affect your checks and balance? I just have that question because somehow you have to have a checks and balance, I think, in government.
So
I think we would.
yeah. So I'm going to call the question then, which means we're going to hold a vote.
Alrighty, there's no further discussion. So tell me your motion again, I'm sorry. What did you
The
get?
motion was to strike employees.
To strike employees from the version that we've been, yes, did you have?
Is it, so, just so I'm clear, because I'm the one who's got this on my computer. This, number one is staying where it is.
We basically want to keep it how it's been.
Okay.
We want to take
The
employees
motion
out.
is to strike and employees, right?
Yes, that's correct.
That's, so that's it, that piece.
That's that piece. Yep.
Okay.
So that just puts employees under the council. Is that what that does?
That leaves it just like it is now, basically, for
Keeps it as
all
is.
intents and purposes.
Think we're all comfortable with that, and then we can have our discussion on the other stuff later. So I'll call the question, so we gotta take a vote.
Okay, all in favor of striking employees from the version Mr. Jekyll has given us?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
That was an amendment,
That's the second amendment, and do we have any further amendments? Anyone who wants to?
That's the third.
Third?
The property owner voting, the references to
Oh,
town
okay,
and
okay.
I have a discussion question for Mr. Jekyll. Y'all probably noticed this whole huge section 15 under, and this is something I'm not understanding, under hotel occupancy privilege tax. Does it have to be like that, or can that be amended to where it's, just under the general regulation, like the general enumerated powers of town council? It cannot be that way.
No, because it was actually a separate private act that was adopted for the city by the state legislature.
Okay.
So it literally, as a section, it can be within the charter, but it has to be a standalone section unto itself.
Gotcha. I'm looking at saving paper.
I understand.
That's what I'm looking at.
I do, trust me, I understand, but the mechanics, the mechanisms that are contained in there are, word for word, what came out of the private act that the state of Tennessee approved.
Okay.
And you want to maintain that.
I figured it was something like that, but I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
with their, and then, the other question I did have, and this is for probably the attorney, there's a part under, section 12, at the end of section 11, number 12, and again, a lot of these are just while we're on the subject doing this. And it's part of the last sentence, right above where it's 13, it says, and to take appropriate property for the aforementioned uses in accordance with state law, which would be, eminent domain. Is that what that would be? Is that, like, I'm against eminent domain.
So you're what?
I'm against eminent domain. And, is this basically, what, should we use eminent domain? It's just taking, it's a leeway. I mean, I'm curious.
Well, it has become increasingly more difficult by design of the state of Tennessee, to utilize eminent domain. The things that you have to do, the benchmarks that you have to meet in order to utilize eminent domain legally and successfully are much higher than they were 15 years ago.
Okay.
No.
Well, the town has the authority to condemn, whether it's in the charter or not. There's separate statutory authority, and in fact, you'd have to follow those separate statutes anyway. But, so I would suggest leaving it in there, but even taking it out doesn't change the authority that the town has to condemn. I mean, for example, if you wanted the church to connect the sewer, you might have to condemn an easement for a sewer line. So there are times when condemnation is necessary for the town to have, but regardless of what you do, it wouldn't have any effect. You'd still have that authority.
Yeah, so my main thing is if I've got a house and the city decides they want to widen the road right in front of my house and and I don't have a choice. They get to take my property.
Yeah, it's not that easy.
It's not that easy.
No.
Okay.
Ask our friends at TDOT.
Okay.
They'll be glad to tell you.
Okay. I won't, that was just mainly a question, so I'm not gonna pursue anything on there. For the sake of time, I'm gonna leave the rest of it. I'm gonna leave the rest. I don't have any other amendments.
Okay, so we're ready to vote on the main motion to accept the charter as Mr. Jekyll has presented from his past with the amendments. The amendments.
I make a motion, we amend it, that we approve it.
That you.
Yeah, so that we've already made a motion to accept it, so right now we're just calling for a vote.
Oh, okay.
No,
Yeah.
wait, we are accepting this with the amendments added to them, is what we're doing.
Yes.
They've been approved.
Because we've already,
Okay, hold on, please. That's what we're doing. Please hold on. So we're voting on the motion with all amendments attached to it.
yes.
Is there any further discussion on that? Okay, all in favor? Okay, all opposed. Thank you very much. All right, then we come to the second reading, Dr. Duke, of the floodplain ordinance.
Actually, first reading.
Is it the first reading? Okay. Floodplain ordinance? Maybe you're right. I'm sorry about that. Okay, first. Okay.
Does everybody have a copy of the floodplain ordinance? Basically, it's just, it's a template from what FEMA and TEMA requires. And we put it together using that template. And also Miss Amy Miller, who's our CRS advisor through TEMA, has reviewed this, and she approved it as well. So so we have to. The one we had before was just totally outdated. It was 1996. It didn't even have the right panels on it. So this one is up to date. I did put you I just wanted to mention just a few things about FEMA, and I gave you a little handout. We recently had a CAV, which is a community assisting visit through TEMA. Ms. Miller came, and we had 8 deficiencies as far as the proper certificates for the buildings and structures that were on these. She actually went out looking and found these, and we could not come up with the appropriate certificates. So we're kind of at a deficit as far as we're kind of on a list. We've got to correct all this stuff. All this, and this is over the past 2 years, 3 years, or whatever that this has been done. It's not just recently, but things have not been done correctly as far as getting the appropriate certificates. FEMA is really, really strict. This is a government agency. They're really strict about all these things. And if you'll just read this here, we got to follow, we live in floodplains and in a floodway, and we've got to follow and get the appropriate certificates and everything. These things. Otherwise, we'll get knocked off the NFIP, which is National Floodplain Insurance Program. And you'll notice the bad things that can happen if we get knocked off of that. So we want to make sure we do that. Now, when we're talking about, a lot of people think that, you know, I'm just going to do this to this building, I'm just going to do this in a floodway, and, you know, what the heck, you know, I'm just going to do this. Well, if you look, there's a sheet on page 4, it talks about what a development is. FEMA talks about a development. And a development can be just something as simple as taking dirt from this area and bringing it over and moving it here, especially if it's in a floodway. And floodways require something much, much more strict than in a floodplain. We have, and I've got you a list of things we have. We have Zone X, shaded Zone X, unshaded. We have Zone AE, and we have floodway. That's in Carthage. It's the only zones we have. In AE, it's not quite as tough because it just has to have an elevation certificate. But in a floodway, you have to have a no-rise certificate. And that no-rise certificate requires an engineer to go in and do hydrostatic studies and flow studies. And you can't, you have to have an engineer certify this, not just a surveyor. And you can't, so it's really, really strict. So the main thing that I think we should know and the public should know is you can't start anything in a floodway or a floodplain without coming and seeing what's going to be our floodplain administrator now. This little lady over here, Miss Danielle, and make sure that all these certificates and everything's done. It's a pain to have to do these, and it's going to be, if you build in a floodway, it's going to be costly because you got to get an engineer to come in and do these studies. But these have to be done. Otherwise, if we don't make sure that this gets done, the city is held responsible for that. It's not the person. The city is held responsible for that, and we can get kicked off the NFIP. And you'll see on page 4, the bad things can happen to the people of our city if we get kicked off the NFIP. So that I just wanted to. We're trying to get caught up. We're going to get caught up with these people with FEMA,
And most of these were from several years back.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's hard to find now those permits if they even existed.
Yeah. This is something that didn't happen over the last year or so. These have been going on for, these deficiencies we have has been going on for the 2 to 3 years or more.
Yeah,
So
way back.
we're just now coming across them. We're going to try to get this straightened out and get back on the good side of FEMA. So just want to make that. So this floodplain ordinance is, you know. Again, FEMA has looked at it and approved it, so we need a reading from you guys to vote on it. And for the first reading, we'll have a public hearing and have a second reading next time around.
So do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussions? Okay, all to approve on first reading of the flood ordinance. Aye. All opposed? So
Just
it passes on first reading.
real quick, it has it says second reading on here, so do we need to change
Well,
it?
that's
Just, okay.
What is it, second reading? Or
It was, I think it was I don't know. I was told it was second.
I think it's the first.
I think it's the first reading.
That's why I was getting a little confused
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we had a delay on it because Ms. Miller wanted to review it before we brought
Okay.
it in to make sure it was okay. And we wanted her to do that
Yeah.
because she's the one that's gonna make sure that we.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay, the next item is the city lot beside Cordell Hall Bridge. I've got something I want to pass out with regard to that. Not sure if I made it out of these, but pass those down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Does everybody have one?
I need it.
You can read off
I need to
mine.
look at it.
Okay. as Mr. Moore alluded to, and, oh, you got an extra one? Okay, here's an extra one. To the email that he sent to y'all after we, they came to purchase, the person came to purchase this lot. There's a problem because we didn't follow municipal, the TCA code, so this is the letter I'm sending to you. It's to the City Council of Carthage. This is to confirm that I'm exercising my authority as mayor of Carthage to veto a motion passed by the council at the February 6, 2020 meeting that would sell a .45 acre parcel of city property on Upper Fair Road in Carthage next to the Cordell Hill Bridge for $2,500. The tax ID for this parcel is 053EE010.00. Tennessee Code Annotated 13-4-104 states that, among other things, the potential sale of municipal real estate must be considered by the Planning Commission before the City Council can vote to sell. This law was overlooked and not followed in this case. There's also the question of why a price of $2,500 was approved for the sale of this public land when a parcel of the same size, just one lot over, has a pending offer of $12,500, and a parcel adjacent to the property owned by the town recently sold for $17,600. And here's the map attached from a real estate agent showing what those prices are. In the end, even if the proper TCA procedure were to be followed and both the Planning Commission and the Council were to approve the sale of this property, I believe it would be in the best financial interest of our citizens for this public property to be put up for competitive bidding. For this, all of these reasons, I veto this motion and would ask the council and city attorney to formulate a standard process for how the town of Carthage would declare its real estate a surplus property that can be sold in the future.
Can I ask who's the source for those two numbers?
This here, it was a real estate agent locally.
Yes, who's the real estate agent?
I don't know if I should say that or not, should I?
Well, if you're gonna source it in your veto,
okay,
I would go ahead and mention it.
Digger handed this to me, and there's actually, this is a pending offer. The pending offer for $12,500 right now on that lot, it's the same size of ours. Besides that, though, we haven't followed the procedure, TCA law, is how this should go forward. So what I'm asking is that we just start over from the beginning and do this.
I am agreeing that I did not know that was a procedure, but also I would be wary of these offers as far as they go. And if we want to bid it out, maybe we go with bidding it out, doing it properly, but I'd be wary of those numbers.
Well,
should not have been bidded out in the first place.
It should have been bidded out in the first place, right. Yes.
What I'm in this veto is just asking that we start all over and do this the proper way, basically. So we veto the motion that was made, and we start from the beginning and do this in the proper procedure.
So she's done a veto, so we can either vote to override her veto, or we can just go ahead and start the process over. But I would say if we're going to start the process over, make sure that offers are not numbers; they are offers.
Well, in the first process, it has to go to the Planning Commission before the council can do anything about this. It has to go through them, as everything does pertaining to land or buildings. It needs to go through the Planning Commission. But that's by law. That's TCA law. So if I'm understanding correctly, we will start over and send it to the Planning Commission to let them get an opinion on this, and then it comes back to the council. All right? Is that all we have to do?
Yes, I do think you want to make a motion to,
okay.
If you wanted to go to Planning Commission with the idea that the property be sold, that be the motion. I do think that you could, well, there are other options, I think, as far as the procedure, but it does need to go to Planning Commission at some point. I think it's just a question of, do you want to go ahead and submit it to Planning Commission to get more information, or do you want to establish some sort of surplus property procedure before you move forward with it? But
And a lot of municipalities do seem to have some procedure for how to declare land or property surplus.
I don't mind selling property, but I think we should do a proper procedure. But also, are we going to be in trouble in any legal means because we already did say that we'd sell it?
No,
it's clearly contingent upon the mayor's veto power, so.
Gotcha, so we'd be completely clear. Okay.
But the other thing, just my question would be, we have a limited amount of land that we own. is there a reason we would even declare it surplus to sell it? I think that we have to take that into consideration. Is there a future possible use for it, for, who knows, a park or whatever, so.
And
those are
generally,
considered-
I'm sorry. I mean, and that's why you would refer
not.
to the planning commission to have them, and again, I apologize for not remembering that this section applied to property being sold by the town. But the purpose of it is so planning commission can weigh on from a planning perspective and say, this is our recommendation with respect to that property. You can override that if you still if they would say to keep it or it's recommended to keep it, you can still vote to sell it, but that's the purpose of it.
I motion that we just send this to the planning commission and do it properly and then move from there.
Second.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Motion to send it to planning commission, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We move on to Chief, the engine 1 and 5. You want to tell
Yes,
us a
ma'am.
little about that?
Give y'all an update on that. It still do not have a firm number on repairs on engine 1. That's the old Mack fire truck, 1982. The ones of you don't remember that. We're gonna be looking at roughly $16,000 total to repair it. It's a lot of money. It's 38 years old, and I can't buy another one for that. Engine 5, the reason I asked the mayor to put that on there, I've had somebody look at it. I have not got a second bid, but he quit looking at $30,000+ on engine 5. It's probably worth $7,500 to be honest with you.
Oh, engine.
The old GMC engine. We have to be able to pump 3,500 gallons of water a minute to maintain our ISO rating, which is what everybody lives in town. It's a portion of what their insurance rates are based on. We want to stay at least a 5. I'd like to move to a 4. Right now, if it were not for assistance from South Carthage and Smith County Central District, we can't maintain it. I have got, at this point, 1,250 gallons of water pumping capacity a minute, up to 35. So I think we're gonna have to fix engine 1. We've got a grant, hopefully, that will replace engine 5. Now, y'all know about the chicken and the egg thing. We don't have the money. So in the upcoming budget, I will be asking you to approve a pretty good chunk of change for a used fire truck. If we get the grant to replace engine 5, I still need something newer and more reliable than an 82. That'll allow us to move that to reserve status. That'll give us a $12.50 if we have to have it as a reserve. I'd like to look at something 99 or newer, because that's where we get into the new safety standards for fire apparatus. And just be truthful, you're probably looking at $125,000, $150,000. The grant that we applied for was $425,200. And that's not a Cadillac. That's a good Ford Chevrolet. It's not brand. It's just, we didn't get a Yugo. We didn't get a Rolls Royce. We're looking at a, just the middle of the road. So just want y'all to be aware of that. That'll be coming up in the upcoming budget, that I'll be looking for some money. The grant, if we are successful, and that's a big deal, the match and the fees from UCDD will be, it'll be under 100,000, but it may be up in the range of 80,000 just for that part. And by the next meeting, I'll have you some figures on some other grants. But just want y'all to know, if I had a choice, if I could take some Band-Aids and bubble gum and patch this, I would, but I can't.
That's on engine 5, correct?
Well, engine 1 is 38 years old. Engine 5 is 34 years old. Engine 1, when it was bought in 82, cost the city $125,000, some few $100. 4 years later, engine 5, when it was bought, cost the town 80-something thousand. So it was 2/3 of the truck that the old Mack was 4 years later, as far as purchase price. I don't think we've got a choice but to spend 16 grand, give or take. Maybe more than that, hopefully be able
Is
to.
that gonna go outside? Do we need to amend the budget, or will you be inside your budget to do
That's
that?
gonna leave me about right here. If nothing else breaks, and that's all that's happened since December, is everything's either broke, bent, sired, fell off. It's been that way for 3 months now.
So we could approve this, and then if something does break, we amend the budget at that time, but we'll try to stick within the budget and cross our fingers.
I'm hoping to.
Okay, well, I would motion to let them spend the $16,000, get it fixed, and
I'll
then if
second.
we need to amend it later, we
If I
will.
might, I'd ask you not to put a cap on that.
Yeah.
Because he's just got all the parts in today.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what the labor's gonna be yet.
Give or take. Okay. Motion, give or take.
To fix engine one.
Motion to fix one, under 20,000, how about that?
I'm good.
Okay,
Does that fix one?
Yes, sir.
And I'll second.
okay.
All right, we have a motion second to fix engine one if it's under 20,000. Do I hear any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Okay.
Thank y'all. I've been full of good news tonight, haven't I?
Mhm.
Thank y'all.
Feeling like it is.
Okay, thank you. Our next, so we go to town administrator, CMFO.
Yes. I was just had a thought. We've talked about hiring a CMFO. We've talked about hiring a town administrator. Don't know why we couldn't combine the two and have a CPA just help on the outside as we need. I mean, the town administrators, we could. I don't have anything concrete right now. I just kind of want to throw it out and just see, get the ball rolling. I think it's something that we all want to. We have to have a CMFO. I think we want to lean towards a town administrator. I think it's something, if we could try and combine it, then I think that would be something that we could do. So I'm not trying to pass anything or ask for anything right now. I think it's just something to throw out there for us to all consider.
Can you look into, like, what that, or maybe you can answer, what is a typical salary on that position?
Which,
The town administrator versus a CMFO,
Or combined with.
or combined with a CMFO?
well, he just asked me, I can find some definitive answers, because we've got several cities that have one or the other or both, in the same person. I think you're probably in the ballpark, 60 to 70,000,
Okay.
maybe a shade higher.
If I may add something, we're finding with this budget, whoever we get for the CMFO really has to have a background in accounting. Really do, because we've run into so many problems, and bless their hearts, as we say, they've tried, but if you don't have a background in accounting, it is really hard to do all of the things that are required with the complexities of what we're in right now to keep our budget in line. And we're finding right now, the CPA is having to go month by month by month to reconcile things that have not been reconciled. It's taking a long, long time. And we've got to have somebody, to me, that's the most important officer, our financial officer, without
I
that.
think we do need to get a CMFO right in here right away regardless. I don't necessarily think we need to get attached to them in case we do this route. But
We talked about, just contracting it out.
contract it out, and then maybe we can look at, if we want to take that town administrator route, we can, we'll pass the budget, but we can add that salary area into the budget to compensate for that position if that's the direct route we want to go. But, I mean, I would like to be able to make a records request and get numbers right now, and
If I may throw one thing out again, and again, this is part of being here every day and watching what's going on. The ladies in the office, the cashier, the clerk, need someone there on a day-to-day basis to help them, to guide them, to reconcile. Their job is not to reconcile, that's the CMFO's job. Their job is to do the cashiering and the clerking and all that entails.
where are we at on that?
And, on what?
Hiring one.
Well, very honestly, I'm trying my best to persuade the gentleman who is right now doing our CPA work to come on board after tax season. He would be excellent. He's pulled up all the records and stuff we need. He's helping us as much as he can within his time right now. And he would even be willing, I think, to get close to what we're offering right now with CMFO, which is the same as every supervisor right now.
Do we have the capabilities to retrieve accounting information out of our system right now?
What kind are you talking about? We've got all kinds of information in there.
If I request revenue sources, line item revenue sources for sales tax for fiscal year.
No, we haven't. That's the
Okay.
problem. That's
So,
part of the
do-
problem. It hasn't been uploaded
Okay,
the
so
way
I
it's
think
supposed to.
we're on the same side here,
Okay.
so. That's why just let me finish.
Okay.
So I don't feel that we need to wait until after tax season to get this specific person.
Well, he's helping us right now. He's doing all of the work. Mr.
So,
Could I interject?
Go ahead.
Mr. Cross, who's my counterpart who does finance, he was here, we were both here today, kind of sitting down. The gentleman who's working, helping you all, the CPA person, he's making some really good headway. He literally has given my counterpart all the expense side up through last fiscal year, in terms of expenses. The piece that we're, in order for us to do the budget part, the piece that we're missing that we know he's working on, the CPA is working on, is the revenue side.
Right.
And so we think we're probably, he may be a week away from having that pulled together.
okay.
Because we actually had that conversation today about, if he can get that to us, we can plug in the rest of the information for the budget.
And we are so lucky to have Mr. Cross helping us to make
Could
the
he
trip out.
maybe train whomever we hire as CMFO? Could he?
Right, could we
Train
have
that
like
person.
I'm sorry.
I can't even think
If
of
we
the
hire
term,
someone, could he
like
train that person?
Who are you talking, I'm sorry.
The person you were saying, the CPA.
the CPA that we have right
He
now.
would be the person.
No, if we hire a CMFO / town administrator, could they give them an idea of what we wanted them to do?
Again, I think we're talking about two different things. We're talking
Well,
about
he's talking
someone
about
on an ongoing basis who can do our daily reconciliation.
That's
the
what
We're
we're talking
subject.
about.
The subject matter
But
right
they
now
have
is
to
to
have
hire
at
the
least an
town
accounting-
administrator and
They have to
CMFO.
have at least an accounting degree. We can't,
Okay.
we cannot settle for anything less
Do
than
we
that.
do we want to hold out and wait for this specific individual, or do we want to put are we holding, or is anyone
No,
else?
he's doing the work right now.
Let me
He's doing the work.
finish my question.
You're advertising for it.
We are
advertising,
advertising
yes.
for it, and
Yes.
we've had no interest except for him.
We haven't had anyone who's a qualified accountant, no. There are a lot of people who work at
But do they have-
Sitco that want to do it, but no.
I thought we just had to have CMFO. I thought they just had to have
No,
that, I mean,
Yes,
Yes.
that's a state requirement.
Right,
but it's not a state requirement, they have to be a CPA.
no.
Okay.
But
So
they
that's-
do
so-
need how-
so-
They do have to know accounting principles.
We all agree on that.
Yeah.
But
Right.
you can have an accounting background and not be a CPA.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really, and that's how we're
Right, but-
advertising, either with
I know.
accounting background or CPA.
So are we okay with hiring someone with an accounting background that's just not just to have a CPA? Are we okay with that?
Or just somebody with a CMFO that's been a
Okay.
CMFO or has whatever.
Accounting, okay, yeah, okay.
But what I'm saying, that's sidestepping, not sidestepping necessarily. I'm just talking about, and I don't, like I said, I don't even expect us to decide tonight, but talk about maybe combining those two.
Yeah.
Because I think we do want a town administrator at some point. So if we could combine those things and have a CPA come in and give us guidelines for what the CMFO
I agree.
/ town administrator needs to do, and then contract, the CPA once a month or quarterly or whatever is necessary to come in and reconcile and help along.
Well, even the CPA would, oh, okay.
So-
Right now,
so, I'm not-
right now, all we need to do is get through budget. So please help us just get through budget with this CPA helping us. That's all I'm asking.
We're
on
not
the road
opposed
to
to
We're
the
not,
CPA
yeah,
help.
we're not
Okay.
opposed to that.
No,
We just,
I'm just throwing it out there. I don't want to
Okay.
talk any more about it necessarily.
Right.
I just want to say it's what I think, and everybody think about it. And we can bring it up at the next meeting because we're 2 hours and 34 minutes into this thing right now, and I'd like to go home before 9 o'clock if possible. So I'm going to just shoot that one along.
Okay, so can we move, are we finished with that? We can move along, hopefully, thank you. All right, into new business, there's one thing we had to add, there's the mowing contract. I forgot to include it in here, but it's in your packet. We have Dickerson mowing, we have the right to extend it another year, he's done an excellent job. I would recommend we extend him another year. He mows the cemeteries for us, and everybody seems pleased with this.
motion to extend it.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of extending the contract another year?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the household trash collection, we put that out for bid, we got one person responding, it happens to be the person that's doing it now. Les and the guys say they do a wonderful job. We're comparing what I sent it to our attorney to compare the old contract with this one. There's a couple of differences. Could you please tell us?
Yeah, the main difference, of course, is the price is gonna go up to $16.50 per unit. So that's the main one. The other thing, the most recent contract that I have looked at was from 2012, and it was a 2-year term with 1-year extension. This one is a 3-year term with a 2-year automatic extension, so you're looking at really a 5-year contract unless you pay attention and know that you have to give notice.
I was thinking it was optional. Is it automatic?
Well, it is automatic unless you give them notice
Oh,
90
okay.
days before it ends.
Okay, so we do have the right to
You
do
have
that.
to,
Okay.
those are the kind of things that kind of.
So we have the right, of refusal for 90 days?
It's it's 3-year contract that automatically extends for another 2 years unless you give them at least 90 days notice prior to the end of the first term that you're gonna
Did
cancel.
they request the 3 years or did we?
It's what they bid. When we asked for bids, this is what they put in, and it's 16.
That was the only bid we got?
That's the only we got.
If the price goes up, does that mean the bill would go up?
The language says that the price is set at $16.50, but it does have some language in there about price adjustments, but that would have to be approved by the council.
Exactly.
So,
And just to throw this
We're
in,
too
our
much now.
cashier has the same service in Lafayette, and she says it's much higher there, so we're getting a lower price here for whatever reason.
so that's the contract. If you want to approve it, or if you want to approve it subject to a shorter term, we can do that and see if they'll sign it. But
We just don't want that bill to go up.
I kind of want to do a shorter term, or if there's language in there that says, like, if we want to expand some sort of trash service as well, is there anything in there for that?
No, this is just
That would be an
household. This is
addendum.
just household.
yeah.
That would just be an
No, it's
amendment
just
or an
household.
Just be amendment if we need to? Okay. Is it, I mean,
No,
do
Well, it
we,
has to come back to the council.
Yeah.
That's the words that I wanted to hear. If there
it's
were gonna be,
changed.
if anything was changed, it still has to come back before the council.
yes.
So,
so do I hear a motion one way or the other on this?
I'd say that I guess we motion approve and discuss, so motion approve.
Second.
Okay.
I'm sorry, to
Discuss,
approve the new one?
to
or what?
approve,
Okay.
approve the new one,
All right.
second. So under discussion, I'd say the pros of a 3-year contract is maybe we lock in that price in case it goes up. The cons are, we're stuck in a contract for 3 years.
They've been our trash pickup for years, and we've
Okay.
not had any issue.
That's right,
yeah.
There was at one point we had some private,
yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
awful.
It was horrible.
Like,
It was terrible.
man, that was the worst thing ever.
we've had no problems that I'm aware of. I've not heard any complaints.
Okay.
Okay, so any further discussion on that? All in favor of approving
Aye.
the new one? Okay, we have a new contract. Thank you.
Mayor, now that that's done it, I do think that, and this goes to your question that you asked me today about notice, looking at the ordinance, of course, $16.50 is what the town is obligated to pay the contractor, but as far as the increase in rates, the ordinance requires the town to adopt a resolution setting the fees.
Okay.
So I don't know the last time that's been done, but that's probably something to put on the agenda for
Next year.
April.
Okay.
It hasn't been very long, has it? Has it been very long?
Since
At
we
all?
approved the fees.
Because we pretty much went through having to look at that fee schedule, make sure that we were where we needed to be with the state, so it hasn't been all that long.
So do we need to put this on?
If the fees that the town is gonna charge the customer is gonna go up to coincide with the contract, then yes, you'll need to do that as a resolution.
Okay. It would just be worded, increase the fee to a certain amount or whatever. Okay, thank you. Chief, we have a budget amendment you'd like to present.
Sure.
Okay,
It's a few, it's gonna be really quick, guys, I'm not gonna bug you too much here. I need to add about $750 to my uniform budget. I've had, get new uniforms for 2 new officers, had to buy new vests for another officer. Some of that stuff couldn't use from the previous officers because they worked here for a pretty good while, and we just couldn't reuse some of that stuff, or almost all of it, actually. And we had 2 promotions, we actually said we had to get new uniforms for the new promotions and all that, so it's hit me a little bit more this year than it usually has. So first request will be add $750 in my uniform budget, that way I can make sure I can get through the rest of the fiscal year. I don't think that's that much, guys.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
okay, motion.
Is it 750? Do you want to make it
But
1,000
you're
or
not
less?
I've got like 3 or 4 different things.
Can we just put them all
We'll
together?
put them all together, okay. And I'll withdraw my motion.
750 should be fine. I don't think. The second thing is, we hired the new officer. He has to go to training. I need 3,300 to send him to the academy. I think I spoke about that last time. I don't have that in my budget, so in part of that, he signs that contract. I think we talked about that last time. So I have to add 3,300 in my training. I'll still have a little extra just in case. That's for if I have to send any officer to any kind of specialized training or something like that. So, okay.
Is that moving or asking?
Do what, ma'am?
Is that just moving within your budget?
No, ma'am.
No, it's
That
added
would
to
be
your
asking.
budget. Okay.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
meant, yeah.
Yeah, actually asking for 3,300 more to be put into the training budget. Yes, ma'am. The rest of it, the money's already there. It just needs to be reallocated. When we sold those guns last year, there was about 12,500 that was deposited into the general fund. That was earmarked to purchase new firearms. We did that, and when we did that, money came out of 2 different parts of my budget. It came out of the drug fund, which was roughly $5,517.04, and then there was $4,613 that came out of my operating supplies. That money needs to be reallocated and put from the general fund back into those 2, because of right now, I'm essentially bust in my operating supplies. So the money's in the general fund, it just needs to be put back into my part so I can finish out this year, so.
So I guess we've motioned to amend the budget to add $4,100, gives you an extra $50 to take care of those 2 line items.
Do what now, I'm sorry?
Add $4,100, 750, 3,300, be 4050, just round it up to 4,100.
Could you tell us specifically what you'd like, please, Chief?
Yeah,
So
same
got
thing,
it.
750 to be put
Okay.
into my uniform,
Alrighty,
part of my budget.
right,
3,300 to be put into my training,
okay,
and then $4,613 to be put back into my operating supplies. That's in the general fund, the money's already there. And then $5,517 to be put back into the drug fund.
I think we do 2 motions on that though. One would be to amend the budget, so,
However y'all need to
yeah,
do it, I
so
don't care, I just.
the motion to amend the budget. Motion to amend the budget,
About
4,100.
I'll second.
Okay.
well, I'm sorry, wait a minute, it was 750 and 3,300.
We're motioning to amend the budget
I
for
know,
40.
but where did we get the 41? Is
We
that
rounded it up.
Just rounded it
Oh,
up.
okay.
An
Thank
extra
you.
50.
Uniform on the academy.
I appreciate that.
Don't go spend
Uniform
all on
academy.
Don't spend all that $50, yeah.
Okay,
This will need to be first reading on the budget amendment.
Yeah.
first
It has
reading
to
on the
be
budget amendment.
ordinance, But we can do it on first reading.
Okay, first reading of this budget amendment. So we can't pass it on the first reading, we can.
Right, I mean, we are passing it.
It's just, it
yes.
takes
But
2
it
readings.
takes 2 readings, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the
So-
reason I'm doing it for this budget is because if I wait after next budget, the academy's gonna want that $3,300 for the training.
Yes.
so.
Okay, so
That's
the
an issue.
motion and second is to add 4,100 to the police budget through a budget amendment.
Yes.
Any discussion, Father? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, okay, so
Thank
that's added.
Motion to move from the general fund $12,500 to
Wait.
Chief's fund.
No, not 4,000.
Firearms.
5,517 into the drug fund and 4,613 into
Oh,
the
okay,
operating supplies.
Okay, I was, I apologize, I was looking at
Whatever the
the,
total is.
Yeah, 12.5.
Okay.
is that total 12.5 then?
No,
No, okay, I apologize. I was looking at 12.5 right there, so,
9,009.
Yeah, roughly
Okay,
10.
okay. Chief, would you
10,000.
state specifically what you'd like us to do, so we can write this down?
Sure.
Okay,
Let's
good.
I would like $4,613
okay,
put back into my operating supplies
okay, back to operating.
from the general fund,
Okay.
and $5,517 put back into my drug fund.
Okay, so. the
Matt's got
motion-
them,
$10,130 without the change.
Yeah. Don't worry about the change.
So
What was it?
Just shit.
Okay.
$10,130.
And I don't think I don't know if the budget amendment has to be done for that.
No, I think that's just a transfer of
Whoever's
funds.
in charge
It's a
of
transfer
fixing
of
the bank
funds.
account
Yeah,
and stuff,
okay,
needs to
so-
take care of that for me, I appreciate it.
do you wanna make that motion,
to do
man?
that?
Yes.
Okay, so motion, and do we have a second to transfer the funds back from the
Second.
general fund to the operating budget of the police? All in, second, we
Yeah.
have, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Thank
opposed?
y'all.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Appreciate y'all.
Okay,
Gracias.
Now we have an updated open records policy. Attorney Moore.
So, I gave everybody a copy of this, and I think I maybe had copied everybody, but in December, the mayor sent me the current open records policy, public records policy for the town, and it was adopted in 2012. There was a state law change in 2016 or 17 that added additional requirements. So I provided a copy of the MTAS model public records policy that they prepared at the direction of the General Assembly for this. Not asking for a vote on this tonight. I will customize this for a motion for approval next month, but it does need to be adopted or something like it to come into compliance with state law. So I'm glad that there are only a few blanks that I think I can take a stab at filling in. We'll give presumably Danielle another job to do, is open records, unless you want to designate somebody else in charge of public records requests.
That's her job. Yeah. Okay.
So that's just, again, for your free information, and I'll have it ready for passage next month.
So you'll bring it back?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. The next item, this was brought to my attention by the gentleman with the EMS and Mr. Jackie Carver. We have two hospital drives, apparently. One is going out Main Street straight up to the hospital. The others, you're coming around behind the rest home and by the cemetery. It was recommended perhaps we should name the second one McKinley Drive because it does go by the McKinley Cemetery. I don't know if that takes an ordinance change or to change. It's just a very short road that goes from...
Behind the nursing home, isn't it? It's behind the nursing home.
Yeah. The problem is they can have both of these with the same name just for 911 purposes. So we need to get it. And it was just suggested because they've renamed the cemetery, McKinley Cemetery, to be McKinley Drive or Lane or whatever we want to call it.
I'll make a motion that we make that road McKinley Drive.
Right.
Okay.
Second.
Do I have second? Okay. Any discussion on that? All right. All in favor of making this McKinley Drive? Now, can we just do it this way, or do we have to?
It should work, yes.
Okay.
Again, it may, yes.
Okay.
Some cities do it by ordinance, but I've never seen anybody
Okay.
challenge it done by motion.
Okay, so all in favor of naming that short stretch to the cemetery and hospital McKinley Drive?
Aye.
Okay. All opposed? Great, thank you. That'll make 911 happy. Painting new lines, parking crosswalks?
Yes.
Chair?
Downtown, we've had them restriped. Les, you know how long ago it was that Randy restriped those? Probably 3 years ago.
Yeah, probably.
They're starting to fade, and you can't really see like the crosswalks and the hatching. Like where you stop, and a lot of the lines have faded. I think we just need to, with spring coming up, people are going to be out more. We just need to have all that out.
Let me ask you something now. We're gonna lay that water line across that street right there. We want to try that up.
Do you know how long that's going to be though before we do that?
We get the grant, I don't know.
I think it'd be. I don't think it was that much money.
What kind of expense are we
anyway.
talking about restriping?
I don't know what Randy charges.
It didn't seem like it was a lot last time. I mean, I don't remember what the total was, but I don't remember it being just like anything wild.
I don't remember.
Can you get a cost for us?
Yeah, I can see Randy.
Could we go ahead and make a motion if it's under a certain amount or something like that?
I'm fine with that. I mean, under what do you think's a reasonable amount?
You're talking about just the crosswalks right now?
Well, and all the striping.
If I can,
on both sides.
Do you mind before you make your
Oh,
motion?
go
Okay. And trust me, more than anybody, I would like to cross the street without dying because I cross it about 20 times a day. But one, that's the one deal there, and two, we're going to be working on soon in the Planning Commission, kind of a layout that helps with parking for people who are working there all day, people who are just shopping, And then there's a lot of things, and Dr. Duke can attest to this. We've got to change a lot of like parking code as well, because like technically anywhere in the city, it's illegal to park at night anywhere. I would say I wouldn't be opposed to clarifying crosswalks, because that's kind of more of a hazard if we need to do that first. I wouldn't be opposed to that, but I would wait on the actual lines, because we're going to work and really revamp the parking spots and as far as that goes.
But you know how long that's going to
Yeah,
be,
that's what I was
though.
gonna say. It's probably gonna take a while.
Well, pretty much we're waiting on the same thing. We're trying to get all the plans ready to go so that I don't think it would take that
Will
long.
that have to go through TDOT also?
I mean, no,
Is it not?
it's not.
a
No,
state
because
agency?
TDOT's completely out. This will be
Okay.
completely city. So it's not necessarily going to take a long time. We're kind of waiting to see when this grant's going to happen so that we can have a good plan for it too. Which obviously, y'all welcome to chime in. It's just I don't want to I would hate for us to go restripe all these spaces and then completely tear it all up and then repave and all that stuff. So it's not that I'm with y'all. I think we need to do it, but we might have a better plan. The other thing is too, if you look at our crosswalks, there's
Well, I know they're
offset, and then you got to come out halfway into a parking spot to look to see if you can cross the road, and there might be some sidewalk changes too, where sidewalks come out and kind of bring it closer. So
I just feel like it's there right now, and it's kind of just waiting. We're just. I would just like to. I think it'd just be worth seeing how much it is.
Is there any further discussion? So
that's what we're doing. We're having further discussion.
But really, everybody needs an opportunity to discuss, and nobody has. So that's Robert's rules.
Well, I like the idea, if it's gonna be a while before things change, could we at least get a cost by the April meeting and then decide if we wanna go ahead or not?
Tomorrow.
Well, yeah,
but
I think
tonight,
that'd be a good idea.
would you mind holding off till the April meeting? Because I'd like to show y'all some stuff that we're working on the planning commission before,
Yeah, well,
and then maybe work on some
He
timelines.
can just get us some costs.
Yeah, I'm fine with getting costs.
I mean, if it's,
absolutely.
Okay.
a few $1,000s, it'd probably be worth just go ahead and do it, and that way we've got it.
Yeah,
done,
if it was
because
something like that, yeah.
I don't think it was more than. Don't want to say, but I don't remember it being.
Just make sure it's not gonna be like $20,000.
I know it wasn't anything close to that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't think it.
The stop marks, can you back them up just a little bit? Because somebody trying to turn in where it's double lane, where you turn to the right or going straight, back it up like they do with the turn sections. You can't turn in going like
In
that.
other words, you're way too far out in the street.
You're out in the street.
I noticed
You
that.
cannot
yeah.
do that. So, I mean, if you drive a truck, you'll know. It don't have to be a big truck. You can't get in.
You
the
dodge bullets driving
We have
into
to
the
sit there
parking
and wait
spots.
some time till everybody goes again.
We gained about 4 feet with probably
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But that'll be a discussion
Yeah.
for when we read
I don't
the,
think-
the downtown.
yeah.
So, and I'll work on getting that to y'all as far as what we're gonna try to look at doing, just a vision for it, and then. But I mean, if it's not that expensive,
Can we table this to next time?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just gonna get us some.
I just want a cost
Okay.
for
What
next
one,
time.
can I say something?
Yes, sir. Go
Oh,
ahead.
this is downtown, correct. I don't know if this applies, but when you go to McDonald's at night, especially, where you get the red light, you cannot see that driveway to go over into McDonald's.
Right, they need a light.
I about got killed the other night,
Yeah.
just doing that turn right there. There's no marking.
Well, this
I
would
mean,
just be just for the downtown.
Yeah, but we need,
that I'm talking
we need
about
to,
right now.
McDonald's.
yeah, we need to address those
Where is
things.
this? This is
Out
at
at
McDonald's. Like
You
turning.
know what I'm talking about? You cannot see to where the road is to go in
Yeah,
there.
that's true.
I made a recommendation when they were doing that, redoing that, to put something there because it
Yeah.
is a hazard there.
One of those little red things
But
or
it would be on
whatever.
private property, so I don't, so it would have to be something, because
We'll have to talk
If
about
you
it.
just painted the curb or fluorescent,
Yeah, something, cause
would
you,
solve the problem.
yeah.
Okay.
Take
I'll
a
have to go
bucket of
see what
paint
you're
out there and
talking
roll
about.
one
So
on
maybe-
there.
The city's got a right of way, I mean, the
Yeah.
city's got a 2-foot right of way.
you can't
so
see
you probably
where
put
you go
something
into the
2-foot
driveway.
right.
Gotcha.
McDonald's.
But it's a good
It's just
point.
dark.
It's very dangerous.
It's dark. You can't
Okay.
see.
It is dangerous.
You kinda have to guess at it. Okay,
Yeah.
really.
Okay.
So we're
I'll
through,
tell you about it.
Okay.
we're through to the
We're down to
crossroads.
6.
Okay,
Number
down to
6.
6. Temporary part-time help.
Yes.
Vice-
I had a question about your assistant, but I do remember we did budget that in the last budget. I remember that being. Do you remember doing that in the budget for the
Starting back
assistant
with
non.
the former mayor. budget,
Right, and so
yeah.
that's, we'll discuss that later on. The other thing though, is I was talking to Les, they have a part-time position that they want to move to full-time. He's been part-time since September. We never filled one opening, and we're still down a person. So I think with everything starting to get busier, we need to push that guy up to full-time, so he's.
So we have an empty open position, we have a
Well,
part-time
But we
position.
have to hire, we have to put out, I mean, they can do it, but we still have to put out a hiring notice.
Is that, but that's true, that's-
And-
Just
you
to
know,
move something from part-time to full-time, but do we have to put out a hiring notice?
I wouldn't think
Well,
so.
the
They're
problem,
already.
okay, the problem though, as Les can tell you, is we still have an employee in that position who's in disability right now.
But we're not filling that particular, we would be filling Josh's position, correct?
Yeah, so you got one, we never did fill this position, Josh.
Who was that?
Josh Dennis.
That's the first I've heard of that.
And he was here in the.
It's already in the budget.
Well, no, it's
Right.
not in the budget. The budget, no, we'd have to include a new salary in the budget for this.
It's in, Derek's got it in his for a water, no, employee,
Okay,
so.
so we'd have to move from one
Jesse.
fund to the other to do that.
So that would be that big of a deal, I would think, if we just.
but if
Well, it is
If it
financially.
is in the budget though,
That one
That's what I'm
position's in the
wondering.
budget, in the water
In the water.
budget, right?
So
See, I
tell
didn't
us
know
what you're
about
wanting
this.
to do
That's not
again.
my
Le-
budget. I
What
didn't
what
put
are
it in
you,
my budget.
Les, what is it you're, Les, what is it you're wanting to do exactly?
I'm not wanting to do nothing.
Oh, well,
Well,
I
but you,
just brought it up.
I mean,
Okay.
but you've talked about wanting him to go full-time though, because
Yeah.
he is part-time and it's busy and he needs to be there more than 28 hours a week.
Well, summer's supposed to come up, and that's our busiest time, you know.
so would you be opposed to us just to do what we're supposed to do and put an
That's
ad and then?
That's look up to y'all.
Yeah,
you
if he feels it, then yes.
Yeah,
But I think
Make
we
sure
But
he
why
applies
can't
for it.
we,
have to advertise.
Promote
for
I
it.
don't understand why we
Full-time.
can't promote
We've
from
promoted from
part-time.
part-time to full-time
Yeah.
before, without
I don't
putting it
think we have
out.
to do that. I mean, he's
If
already
he's
an
doing a
employee.
satisfactory
I'm just,
job,
I mean,
according to
I
Les.
think that's fine, I just wanna make sure we're doing it. If we
I
can
don't
do it.
see anything in the personnel policy that requires, that would prohibit you from promoting somebody to a full-time position.
Right.
Fine
It
with
says,
me,
Okay.
if you wanna
it
do
has
it.
the general language about being fair and
And we have to create a salary for this person too, so.
So we can, we need to amend the budget for that part then.
Well,
Would it
remember,
amend the budget or would we just transfer funds?
no,
I
From
don't
the
think
budget.
it's hard to I don't think we can transfer
no,
funds.
but,
We would just increase his budget for salaries.
but please remember, because this was brought home to us today, you can increase the salary, you've gotta increase the pension, you've gotta increase insurance, you've gotta increase your social security, so it's not just increasing the salary, you've gotta know all of those numbers.
Part-time
before
now
we-
doesn't get it, right?
Is this
But
something that
We have
could,
to have that on paper before we can even make a motion. Do you want to be able to increase, which I have no problem with that, but we
Yeah,
have to know what we're talking about financially.
would it be okay, can this something that can wait till next month to do and,
Yeah, I mean, we just need
with
to know what
y'all,
the
and then
numbers
we
are.
get all the numbers in front of us and we can do it?
And just exactly what it says is all applications for full-time employment are received at town hall and given thorough consideration. Applications shall only be accepted for open and or vacant positions. So if you're gonna,
Well, he's
put it
still in-
over till, then I'd probably still just have it treated as a, open position, have him apply for it.
Yeah,
If anybody else applies.
that
you
way
can
nobody
consider it.
complains. Yeah.
Okay.
But please let us, and I will ask, because we were running money, excuse me, that's what this finance guru in MTS was doing today. He was saying, remember, it's not just increasing the salary, it's increasing all that goes along with it. And so let somebody who knows how to do this run those numbers so we know it's specifically what we're talking
We
about.
all know that.
We already know what it's.
That's a
We're
given.
okay with
We,
that.
we just need to know and just, it's
Yeah.
gonna just be another cost. It's just like hiring a police officer. It's not like, well, how much extra is it gonna cost for this and that? It's like, we're gonna pay him $16 an hour and the rest goes along with it. But that's
Well,
not,
it does,
well,
but
let's
it's gotta
just,
come from
let's-
somewhere.
yeah,
let's
let's
just add the
just-
red tape.
let's
and
get
add
the
more time
numbers
to it,
and
let's
we'll
go.
vote at that
I just
time.
wanna go
Yeah.
home, so let's just, I just
All right.
brought it up, so
Okay,
let's go,
all right.
please.
So we'll talk about putting an ad in the paper then, how's that? Is that what you're
Yeah, I
saying?
don't think it requires advertising, I just think it has to be an open position that's applied for, so.
If
Okay.
it doesn't require advertising, then let's don't advertise it.
Yeah.
So nobody else can apply for it, is that what we're saying?
Nobody else can apply.
Somebody can apply for it.
Okay, okay. All right.
But
Is
you
there
don't
any-
have to advertise for it.
All right, okay, and we're going right on now to the next one, final one, is this the final one, the Second Amendment sanctuary?
Last
city?
one. I'm always at the end.
All righty,
Okay, this one, this is I'm sure everybody here has heard about the Second Amendment sanctuary cities and counties. There've been hundreds of them going across the country. I sent a lot of language on this. I had some input from Representative Van Huss up at the state level. Had some input from Davidson County was the big part I took out of. Also some input from the counties as well. So, but my proposal is just to approve this resolution to protect and defend the constitutional right to keep and bear arms and providing other matters related to this subject. So, that's my motion, is to approve that as a sanctuary city.
Whole second.
All right.
I'd like to have more information about.
Yeah, because what do we do in the
I don't think it's
Somebody else.
Yeah,
necessary.
it's not a binding agreement anyway, we're still,
It's a
have to
statement.
uphold the state
Yeah.
and,
That's right.
and
It's a
United States
statement,
laws.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I sent, like you
There's
always
a lot
said,
going on tonight, but that's put in my fix right now.
I did, you say you want information on it, I did email you
I'd
the
like to
information
see
on it.
us hold off on this. I'm not ready to do, even with all the information you sent, I'm not quite ready to vote on that. I'd like to hear from some other people about what that entails.
Okay, so if there's no was there a motion?
There's
I
been a
second.
There was
second.
a second.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Okay, do we have a vote then?
Yes.
All in favor of this presentation, Sanctuary City?
Aye.
All opposed? No. Okay, so it failed for 4-2. Okay. All right. If
Motion
there-
to adjourn.
Second.
I adjourn, thank you. Excuse me.